Okay, let's get started.
Just raise your glasses high. This one's sweet.
Amy, it's turtle time trip again.
Time to go on a trip.
We're going to Amsterdam.
Woo!
Were you excited when we decided to go to Amsterdam? Watch this trip?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that dinner scene is one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. I'm considering if I've watched this season as much as other seasons.
You mean not like you don't think you've seen it as much?
Yeah, I feel like, whenever I do a Beverly Hills rewatch, I start obviously at the beginning because I think it starts so strong.
Yeah.
And then I think the last time I did a rewatch, I assessed that essentially it started sucking, not like horrible, but like tanked in season 7, which is when Dorit came.
Yes.
Not to blame her. It's just that's when it aligned.
Yeah, I think Rena, Eileen, and then Dorit was just, it's not salvageable with all of them because they all are sort of, in my opinion, very fake for the most part. So it was just too many cast members. I mean, I think Eileen and Dorit only were on one season together, but the Rena, Eileen, and then Dorit era, I think was like the end of me enjoying Beverly Hills after like an iconic start.
Yeah.
Iconic 3 seasons.
Yeah. We did get Erica Jane at is she like 6?
I think so, 6 or 7. And I like Erica Jane a lot too, and like she provides such an interesting dynamic. But then she kind of aligned herself also with this like unshakable force of Kyle, Rena, Dorit, the Fox Force 5. So like she didn't like, I don't know, shake things up enough. Even though I think she's very compelling and a great cast member.
Yeah, but yeah, this the trip overall is good, but I would say the dinner scene is really where all the meat is at.
It kind of peaks
early.
Like like they get there, they have one of the most iconic scenes in Housewives history, I guess, or up among like Beverly Hills, one of its strongest moments. But then after that, they're kind of just like reeling from that moment, and it's about like getting over it. And then there's the slap.
Right.
Brandy slap, which is kind of a, not that wild of a thing. I mean, besides it's shocking that Brandy did it.
Do you think bigger or less big of a deal than Will Smith?
I think I have to say now, being post both, Will's seemed to, when he slapped, what was it? It was Chris Rock, right? When he slapped Chris in the face, that I think had more of an impact.
The earth shifted.
It was, I'll never forget. We've talked about this, right? Where were you? We were talking that night, right?
My living room.
Oh, me too. I was at a friend's house and we had to,
Scream I scrumped.
we were on a delay or something, and we were passively watching, and then all of a sudden we heard, Will Smith, he was being bleeped, his cursing was being bleeped, and we thought this had all the hallmarks of a classic comedy bit.
Of course.
You know what? Did you think that too?
Yeah, it was confusing, and just you would assume, that is what was going on, and then you looked at the people around them and you're like, oh no.
The reason, that, and then the reason I knew it couldn't have been too much of a comedic bit was the amount of cursing Will was doing, because you wouldn't add a bunch of F-bombs that they're gonna bleep.
Yeah.
That seemed a little too much of chaotic energy, and then you couldn't fake Chris Rock's face, the face he made after. You know, kind of. He was kind of bummed out a little bit.
Did he? If I remember correctly, did he just have to continue to present?
I think so.
And then Questlove won an Oscar.
Yeah.
But it was like completely overshadowed.
Yeah, I think so. And then like Will gave a speech later when he won for that movie.
Yeah.
Remember? And he goes, I forget if he apologized. Do you remember the joke that Chris Rock told?
Yes.
Do you remember? It was like G.I. Jane 2 called Jada Pinkett Smith, they want your hair
back.
Yeah. It was pretty
so benign.
Innocuous, yeah. Well, I think that you were right to put it in context in terms of slaps. I think this one was like this was the first slap that everybody knew about. Then there was that show called The Slap, if you remember that. And then it was the Will Smith slap.
Do we consider Stassi and Kristen a slap, or is that a punch?
That was like a punch.
Yeah.
Well, right? She kind of...
It was kind of like a backhand.
Yeah. Would you consider that a slap? It was too almost forceful to be considered a slap, I thought.
Right. Yeah. I think it could go on the chart somewhere. It could be like an XY axis, and it'll be like slap, punch.
The wildest slaps. Are there any more? I was thinking of like spankings, but we don't really like
those. You don't see too often.
Are there any? I mean, were we kind of? Is this?
What about like when? Like the foppish thing of slapping with like gloves.
I was just thinking of that. I was thinking Victorian era. It was one of the worst things you could do is you take off your glove and you'd smack, someone else in the face. And then that was almost, you would duel after that. But then I think there was a huge sort of downturn in slapping. And then it was like the Stassi era. And then...
Should we bring back the duel?
You mean like just that anyone could go outside and like you could just finish
settle this the right way?
Yeah, there's so many. I watched Barry Lyndon for the first time. There's like 3 duels in that. It was like it was so common back then.
Totally.
Barry.
I was watching that movie The Bike Riders because my boyfriend Mike Feist is in it.
Oh yeah.
It's on Peacock. And it's not duels, but since they're like gangs, they like settle things with like knife fights and stuff.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, it's funny when, that's how it is in like West Side Story and like Grease and like all of those movies where it's just like, it's just normalized to be like, someone has to be the victor here. Like we have to organize this so that we know.
Yeah. And it's you said it's knives.
Yeah.
Knives, right? Well, that's so dangerous.
Fuck that. I hate watching knife fights.
I don't know. Imagine a knife's coming at you. I think you have to just... Well, they say if it's a knife, right? If it's a gun, you run towards the person. If it's a knife, you run away. You remember that advice? Yeah.
Who said that?
I was watching this self-defense class just in case, and they said if you see somebody with a gun, you run towards them because they have a much better chance of just picking you off. Long distance is to their advantage. But then if you see someone brandishing a knife, you run away. But you don't want to get in close quarters with someone with a knife.
There's like, this is dark, but like for when a shooter enters a building, there's all the protocols. I think one, you run always.
Yeah.
But then if you can't, you hide.
Run first, and then hide.
I'm like getting it all wrong, and everyone's like, "But you said."
Right. I think run. Well, yeah, no. I mean, I'm worried about that because that conflicts with what I heard, which is run towards the.
But you're not always gonna charge. If like someone comes into a movie theater or something horrible like that, you're not gonna charge them.
We've already talked about that. It's. I'm like, what's that movie where the guy runs? Where the guy runs from the avalanche? Do you know what I'm talking about? You know that movie that it's like a Swedish movie and it's about an avalanche
Force majeure.
Yeah, and have you seen it?
I haven't, but you can spoil it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, he unfortunately a big avalanche comes and he runs out before his family, and then his relationship is forever changed with his wife after that because he committed a cowardly act in front of her. But I'm not going to say that I would do that, but I'd be running for my life.
I told you, whenever I have dreams of scenarios like that, I'm like so sneaky. I always get away.
That's so cool. Wow, really? Do you have recurring dreams of that?
Not reoccurring, but like I have that main character syndrome where I'm like, I would get away.
I think so too. I mean, and we'll see. I mean, if it ever does happen, but let's
do some like tactile training soon.
I would love to. I have to say, I think my flight reflexes might send me, hopefully, I don't know, making the right decision, but running as fast as
I'm afraid I'm
possible.
a freeze.
Really?
Yeah.
Just freeze and let the storm come to you.
Hate it.
I think I am too. I think I would get so scared that I would just become like a target. I'd piss and I'd cry, and everyone around me would have to protect me from it. You haven't seen Force Majeure yet?
Can you believe it? Not or the original
remake,
or the remake.
Or Downhill, which I just found out Jesse Armstrong co-wrote.
Oh.
You know him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, is it the guy He did Triangle of Sadness, that guy.
Yeah. What's his name? Ruben. I don't think about
Roland
him. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
something.
Yeah. You brought up a huge question to me, which is how many slaps have we witnessed historically? No, really. I mean, I was like, were there any slaps, like, culturally?
Yeah.
I only know of, like, yeah, I mean, that's it. This, Wills, maybe the Vanderpump Rules one.
Yeah, I'm picturing like
It doesn't happen in films. There's not a lot of slapping.
what's like isn't there like a meme of a slap? But that's not Will Smith or no?
I'm trying to think. I'm just if this is when we pause it to Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs. What are the slaps that we all remember?
Famous
Slaps?
slaps.
Famous.
Tombstone?
Oh.
I don't think I've seen Tombstone.
There's a slap in that.
Apparently.
Oh, okay. Doc Holliday and Wild
Whatever
Bill
happened
Hickok.
to Baby Jane?
Oh.
I'm trying to remember that.
I don't remember that one either. Well, it's kind of, yeah, I mean, this one, the reason why we're talking about it is because this has this slap where it's Brandy decides, well, I guess first I'll say this, we're covering the Beverly Hills Amsterdam trip. And I think when you and I were thinking about what trips to discuss during my paternity leave, Amsterdam is one that was just always bubbling up to the surface, right?
Yeah.
It was Scary Island, and then we were like, what the hell are we going to do next?
Yeah.
And then I think Amsterdam resonates more in my mind in theory than when I actually watched it. I was like, does this get to the top 10 upper pantheon for just having two moments that we remember that sort of bookend this trip? Because overall, this trip is not that fun
Yeah.
for any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, besides Yolanda, who's like, she's basically like a pig in shit, loving all of the Dutch culture and showing off like the windmills and the.
I also forgot she tacked on a Calgary precursor where they have to go to that David Foster gala.
Yeah, she wanted a little extra from this trip. So yeah, they're kind of it's just all about the fallout from this very wild dinner at the very start, right when they get into town. It's like the first thing they do.
Yeah. I'll just say overall, I didn't remember Kim being so vicious.
Did you think she was at that dinner?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I kind of just thought she was handling everyone really well. But I also, this sort of, I haven't gone back to Beverly Hills in a while, so I had to just have my preconceived notions about everybody. And when I went into this, my feelings are, Kim is iconic, Brandy is iconic, Eileen is a dud, Lisa Rinna is one of my most loathed housewives in terms of her ruining the franchise, and I just think she's very fake. And then I'm hot and cold on Kyle. I like Kyle a lot more now than I did in this era. And then Lisa Vanderpump, iconic as hell.
Yeah.
You know, this kind of reoriented me, where I give a little more credit to Eileen and Lisa because this is their first season and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Eileen especially.
Yeah.
Eileen is like, help me. Like, she has no clue what the fuck she's doing. So I can't count her out too much. But I just thought Kim kind of is iconic. I mean, but then I kind of, I don't take into account the history that her and Kyle have at this point, because I know that what Kyle has seen in her relationship with Kim is probably so hard on her. And I guess I like gloss over that with my impression of Kim.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting now, having watched all that stuff in the recent season with Kathy, where Kyle was like, I'm so scared of Kathy. Like, when my phone rings and it's her, I tremble.
Because she doesn't know what vitriol is going to pour out of Kathy's mouth as she speaks to her. Screaming.
So when Kim at one point is like, Kathy would never act like this. She would have my back like a real sister. I was like, dude, their dynamic all across the board is so sicko. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to know.
And they do. I think now my interpretation, which when I used to give Kim a lot of credit, now I like Kyle more, I think, for how she handled it. But I think that they both use Kyle's love and loyalty against Kyle in a way, knowing that if they write off Kyle, that's going to affect her a lot more than it affects them. And she's going to be the one to like reach out and try to make it better.
Yeah.
You know?
That's like sad because Kyle's baby sister, right? Youngest.
Is she?
Yeah.
And
Kathy's
big.
much older.
Right.
Separate, different dad.
Yeah, I think so.
And
Yes.
then, yeah. It's just like, I feel like usually the baby gets more nurtured. And in their case, they're like, no, fuck you.
Yeah. It's a part of me, though. Well, I guess I don't know why, because I do need the full context again to like analyze this properly. But when Kim was saying stuff about how like Kyle is not backing her up and is like running to Rena and Eileen in these scenes about how, I don't know, like there is a little bit of an absence of loyalty to Kim in my opinion. Like Kim does have some, I don't know, right to think that Kyle is not supporting her through this when Rena and Eileen are bringing things up about her sobriety, one of the touchiest issues you could ever imagine that Kim doesn't want on camera.
Right. Yeah. I guess it's a little strange. Like, I believe the idea that like Rena is using it as a storyline pusher, like she is making it her business to bring this topic up, which is like distasteful, of course. But at the same time, it's a little like, it's strange that Kim is so sensitive for it to be mentioned, period, when it's like, it's a fact. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like whether or not she has a problem. It's like, she does have a problem. She went to rehab. That is a fact. And now she's proud of how far she's come. Yeah. So it's a little weird to be so dodgy about something. I mean, whatever. I'm speaking out of turn. It's like, I know that it's a sensitive topic or whatever. And maybe you are like, keep my name out of your fucking mouth, etc. But especially if you just like don't like Lisa Rinna and you're like, shut the fuck up, I'm not friends with you. But like she just goes feral every time it's brought up, and like she went feral on the plane, and then when it came up at the way that it happens at dinner is like so out of left field, because I didn't feel like Rinna was like manipulating the situation to bring it up again. I felt like that could have been the end of it for real. Like, I mean, we'll get into it, but like it was essentially like Rinna gets emotional because her sister died when she was a teenager from drugs and alcohol. Her husband has 2 dead brothers from overdoses. Her husband is sober. Like, that's valid. And she was like, I'm sorry if I've pissed you off about that stuff. It is like a touchy thing for me, and maybe I've gone overboard, and I'm sorry. Like, what more? It was like perfection, like for squashing it, I thought. Like, and Kim was like, there you go again. Yeah. And it's like, no, like she was saying why she did that.
Yeah. Yes, I see that for sure. But I also saw the sort of fourth wall break of Kim constantly has asked for Lisa not to talk about this. You know, this is a new cast member, Rena. Now this is like, I think by the time Rena gets to that dinner, this is the 4th or 5th time that Rena has talked about even questioning her sobriety. And Kim says at one point that I texted her about this, please never to bring this up again. And then she kind of brings it up a little bit on the plane as to why she's mad. So when Rena does get to the dinner, which we're going to talk about in more detail, and when Rena finally does like, she kind of points to Kim a little bit at the dinner and says like, that's why I'm so sensitive about these sobriety issues. I kind of understood where Kim was coming from. Like, I asked you for the love of God to stop fucking talking about this. And I thought we had this conversation on the plane that you knew. I do not want this brought up on camera again, ever again. And you just brought it up again at dinner. And she's just so primed to
I get
to
it,
fight
but it's
back
like,
against that.
I guess she just doesn't want to be associated with that topic at all.
I think so.
Because it's like, it's a fact.
Yeah, and then rewatching a little bit of like the poker scene, I do understand that now that Rena has had firsthand experience with someone acting a little off, she has a firsthand account. you can't help but want to discuss as a new cast member what the hell is going on here. It's I think a little bit of my interpretation of Lisa Rinna as she goes on colors this interaction to be like, is Lisa Rinna just vying for a storyline as a first-time cast member?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I could see both sides. Maybe we'll get somewhere as we discuss it.
Yeah. But nevertheless, it happens. They don't even eat at dinner. They never even get to order anything.
No, I think bread is just put down in front of them. And
Yeah, I think they only even have water at that point. Like, it happens immediately.
Yeah. So where does, after you watch this, where does Amsterdam, did it provide as much joy to you rewatching it?
I mean, it's a fun LVP showcase, like we were saying, because I hardly even remember her being this involved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because she got like big in her britches towards the end, which like happens to all OGs eventually, but she's just like part of the group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she like has to participate completely.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see her as part of an ensemble after not seeing her like that at all.
Yeah, and she's very like level-headed. Like, I love seeing her close with Kyle still at this point. I missed that. I forgot like how much I really did enjoy them as a twosome, like Jill and Bethany style. And there's like a sweet moment on the last episode or like the end of the trip where they say nice things about each other. And Lisa says something actually nice about Kyle. Like, I thought she was going to say something like bitchy because eventually towards the end of their friendship, she can barely even like compliment her or not give her shit at all times.
Yeah.
And she just was straight up nice. And I was like, aw.
Yeah, that was really sweet. There was some good resolution towards the end of this trip. And yeah, Lisa does have an iconic, I mean, she's pretty great throughout. I mean, she's just reacting to everything, having fun. She is the recipient to a horrible Brandy moment and kind of takes it in stride.
Yeah.
She doesn't like try to milk it for all it's worth. She just says, that affected me. Brandy, never do that again. So yeah, I loved Lisa this trip. I thought she was great.
Yeah, she's like kind of the perfect middle ground of like, she's not afraid to have an opinion on what has happened, but in no way is it really her problem.
Yeah.
So she kind of is just like, can we just like enjoy ourselves? Like, Jesus.
Yeah. When I saw that this was like the cast for this trip, I was kind of like, wow, this is a really iconic cast, minus Eileen and Lisa Rinna. But then this trip kind of showed the faults of this group dynamic. And I'm not sure if this is like, I don't know if this is the iconic encapsulation. Like we know Roni's iconic cast. It's like when Dorinda, Bethany, Luann, Ramona, like that, like season, what is it, 7 to 10 is like the most iconic iteration. Caroline, Carol, like it's the most iconic iteration of Roni. And I don't know if this is
Right.
This is probably not. I don't think this is the best version of Beverly Hills. I think it might be 1 through 3.
Yeah. I think that's the GOAT.
Because it only gets worse from here. And it's even, right?
I think like Camille always added like a fire because she was, kind of nuts, super rich, had beef, like, but was integrated, like it actually made sense. And then like LVP versus Maloof always was fun, like tension, and but obviously the sad Taylor shit.
Yeah. I mean, but I and looking back on those seasons though, like I don't enjoy Taylor at all. I didn't enjoy Camille at all.
Okay.
I'm like, well, I love the I love the rest of the cast, but I'm like learning now that I think like Beverly Hills might have like the worst overall like quality arc of any franchise for me personally. Like I think it's so good in the first 3 or 4 seasons, and then there's this era, and then you already said the Dorit era, it starts to become flop energy.
Yeah.
And then Lisa leaves, and then we're in this like new post Lisa era, which is not great. I mean, it's decent.
Yeah. Guess I'm due for a rewatch.
Yeah.
But I guess I forgot that. So it starts out, this is 4 episodes touch Amsterdam.
Yeah, so we'll put the episodes like what you need to watch before, if you wanted to watch this before, but it is good to probably watch the trip so you know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, but it started out with when I saw how it was going to begin, I was like, not this. It was that Beverly Hills scavenger hunt that Yolanda put on, which is, I was just like, what is this?
I also said the same thing. I go, oh my God, this is rough. Like this, it started bad. I was like,
giving the geocaching in Montana, Roni.
oh, right. Yeah. Like this was a rough start. I was like, is this the golden era that I was remembering? Because they're already like, they're so fractured. It wasn't very fun. Eileen is overall, she adds nothing to the cast.
Yeah, I will say it is fun watching her in Amsterdam. Like, she's such a normal woman that she's so horrified by what she calls the cruelty of Kim and like the drama and the everything. It's funny to have someone in there that's like, what the fuck? Whereas like you watched Yolanda during it and she's like cool as a cucumber. Like she's just like watching it like a tennis match.
Yeah.
Like she's like, whoa, crazy. And like Brandy's like, this is crazy. Like they're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
And
So
Eileen's like traumatized to her core.
she always sounds like her monocle is gonna fall off.
Yeah. Clutching her pearls.
Yeah, clutching her pearls. So, well, do you want to start with, I mean, do we need to talk about, dip into it starts with a Calgary trip. I mean, unless you wanted to talk about the
No. Yeah, they take a PJ to Canada, sans Lisa and Eileen, right?
Yeah.
And Babyface is on the plane with them.
Right.
And then Kim is giving Rena the cold shoulder because she has heard that she's yet again talking about her sobriety because Brandy told her. Mm-hmm. And so on the plane, Rena's like, are you mad at me? Like, what's going on? You like haven't spoken to me once. And Kim essentially is like, stop talking about me. And she's like, I apologize. I never intended. I always had good intentions or whatever. And Kim is just like, already has had it. Kyle is literally has her like sweater over her face, like in terror. Like she's like, no. Like she really like is so conflict averse.
Yes.
Especially when it's not about herself. Like I feel like if it's about her, she's fine to get into it. But when she knows that it's about to become that she's supposed to support Kim or whoever, she like really spirals out and is like, don't make me, please God. Like she is so scared.
Yeah. Well, and Kim ultimately gets very mad at how Kyle gets so scared to defend her.
Yeah, she does a funny impression of her with the
napkin. So at this point, I mean, just because we have to have the context, like, do you think Rena is bringing it up now or just apologizing, talking about, you know, that she was questioning her sobriety, and Kim kind of tries to nip this in the bud right here on the plane, right? I mean, she's saying,
I mean, she's pretty aggressive, like immediately.
I don't know. I didn't read it as that aggressive. I just thought I just keep
if you were on that plane, you wouldn't turn around and be like, what the fuck? If you were Babyface.
If I was Babyface, obviously I'd be excited to go to David Foster's event. That's what he's on the way to, right?
Yeah, he performed.
So I don't know. I guess I keep thinking that it's Rena being like, if I'm apologizing, it's good and I can talk about it again. And I love giving apologies. And for Kim, it's you're bringing it up on camera after I've texted you about it, after you already did it, after I've yelled at you about it. And so I think that every time Lisa says anything about it, it makes Kim mad. And I felt like this was her just trying in a, you know, she went 0 to 100, but I feel like she's just trying to get Lisa to absolutely stop talking about this issue for the rest of the trip.
Yeah. And I'm just like, you're on a show and your big storyline is that you went to rehab.
Yeah. Well, I think it might be that I think maybe we're not taking into account enough what that pill, whatever happened at poker night, because she says that she took pain medicine, right?
Yeah.
And it made her loopy as hell, and she had to go to the hospital for a week. And it kind of made Kyle concerned that she might have broken her sobriety.
Yeah.
It made Rena very concerned. So maybe any accusation that one pill that she popped and made her kind of loopy was her breaking her 3-year sobriety is enough for her to think that you're like affecting my family, like you're accusing me on camera. And for Rena, I think you're probably right. If you're painting in the most positive light, she's bringing it up on camera because she was witness to it and she's legitimately trying to apologize. But I think this is the last time Rena should have said something about it, really.
So you think that what she said at the dinner was inappropriate?
Yes.
I don't.
Oh, wow. I thought that we'll talk about it. I went into that dinner thinking that Kim handled that in an almost iconic way. And we'll talk about it. I didn't know. I didn't know that you'd think that way. I would have never guessed.
Yeah. Kim is iconic, fun to watch, surprise around every corner, but she's an agent of chaos.
Okay.
Like the way she's talking about the pain med, and then she's like, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and then she's like, I've been sick for months, and like there's always like all this random fucking crazy shit going on in her life. And then remember, is it on this season or amidst her this intense journey, she like gets a nose job, and it's like, why would you do that right now? Like she's always just like if I were her sister, I would be like, I can't keep track of you.
I think so too. I think you're right, and I'm being harsh on Kyle for sure, and I think I'm being overly harsh on Rena. But let's get to that moment and see how we feel, and maybe I will no longer be able to justify my completely pro Kim behavior. But at this point on the plane, I kind of understood where Kim was coming from. Maybe it gets less justifiable as we go on.
Okay, I feel like we can skip the gala. The main thing is that Kyle dances on stage with Steven Tyler.
I wanted to highlight that. And then Steven Tyler, who is the lead singer of Aerosmith,
yes,
he starts to scream and shout like a rock star. And then Kyle goes, I have the biggest crush on Steven Tyler. I am basically a stalker. And then Steven Tyler puckers his famous lips and puts them right on Kyle's mouth on stage.
She loves it.
Was Kyle allowed to go up on stage?
She crawled up. It looked like by the end there were a lot of people on stage.
Oh, there were?
Yeah, it was kind of a free-for-all.
And he won. David Foster, talk about, altruism. He gets $8.2 million from that Canadian benefit.
Yeah.
And Yolanda is really, the reason why she wanted to highlight this is obviously put a charity, on blast, which is good and noble. But also she is touting David Foster as no one else could, which I remember is a recurring theme about Yolanda.
She's
to hype.
Obsessed with him until she gets sick and he drops her like a
he
bad
leaves
habit.
her in the dust.
Yeah,
completely.
He's like, you're sick, I hate you.
Even after this almost sycophantic love for him that Yolanda shows.
I'll never forget. I feel like I've brought this up before, but every time I watch it, it really sticks with me. When she gets her breast implants taken out because she thinks they're poisoning her.
Yeah.
Lisa calls to check on her, LVP, and David Foster goes, hey, Lisa, Ken has better tits than my wife now.
Oh, my God.
And they're like, what the fuck? And I was like, go to jail, bitch. I hate you.
I absolutely hate him. And then I was letting this charity event color my impression. I was like, can someone that's evil and that I hate do good?
It's probably a tax haven.
Money? You think? It's a tax haven for him? I absolutely know I despise David Foster, and I'm not going to let this isolated charity event sway my opinion of him.
No, I told you I also watched a video of him with his new wife, or current wife, Catherine McPhee.
Who is Catherine McPhee?
She was on American Idol and the NBC musical show Smash.
Smash.
She's like a singer, actress.
Okay.
She's much younger, like she's in her 30s.
Really?
And they have a young child.
Wow.
But I was watching an interview with them where she was like, when I met you, I was like, I looked different, or she said some remark to that. And he's like, you can say it. You were fat.
David Foster said that?
Yeah. He's like a garbage piece of shit.
Oh my God. Don't get me started on David Foster. I watched that documentary on him, which I've talked about before. Also, let us not forget that David Foster, one time he couldn't play copywritten music on camera, so he had to play Camptown Races on camera. He had to go, Camptown Races, sing that song, doo-dah, doo-dah.
And then the housewives tried to be like, doo-dah, and he was like, shut your mouth.
Yeah, Taylor started trying to get in the mix or whatever.
Did you notice at this performance, he also said, you don't have to sing, I'll sing.
Yeah, he loves singing. His claim to fame, David Foster, is just adding one more chorus to I Will Always Love You, the classic Dolly Parton song that he wrote for Whitney Houston. He just said, he goes, I got a wild fucking idea. Put another chorus on the end of that thing. And he got the money rained down on him, billions of dollars.
Rich. Okay.
All right, so we're skipping that
Yeah,
and
we
going
got
to
it.
Amsterdam.
Yeah. So at the airport, Kyle leaves her carry-on bag, I think like on the plane or by the plane.
Yeah.
And so she has to run and go get it. Kim is like, if that were me, it would be a whole fucking thing. You'd be like, what an idiot. Like,
Yes.
how dare you?
And I got to stick up for Kim.
Probably true.
She's pissed. Yes, that everyone would be laughing their asses off if Kim was spinning around in circles and she didn't know where her luggage was or she was late. Also, though, that napkin thing that Kyle did on the plane, where when she's fighting with Lisa Rinna saying, don't ever fucking bring up this shit again, when Kyle was hiding behind a napkin, my sister clutching her pearls, she's already pissed off at Kyle. So I just want to lend some, rationale for why Kim is
it's
pissed.
not about what it's about.
Can I ask though really quick, have you ever been to Amsterdam?
I haven't.
Never?
No.
Oh, I went once.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it was right after Amsterdam Day, or some holiday, and so the place was completely trashed, like with all of these like flags and stuff. But I still got to get a good glimpse of the city, and I remember a lot of these stuff. I went to the same Pannekuchen
Oh, you did?
place. Yeah, I went up
Climbed
those
the
stairs.
Did you eat a space cake?
I can't. I've already told you I can't make weed happen in my body because it sends me to the hospital.
You're like Kyle.
I'm just like Kyle, except we find. Well, I'll talk about that later.
Also, Kim, like something weird happens on the escalator where her cart gets stuck and there's like a full-on pileup that like honestly looked like it could have become dangerous.
Yeah, and then a bunch of Dutch people have to help her out to free her bag from the escalator. It got really bad.
Brandy was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Kim was like, or Yolanda was like, I can't take you guys anywhere. Like, what is going on? So yeah, that is the first part because basically the end of the episode is them landing in Amsterdam. So the first one was called Welcome to Amsterdam ? Because that's what Kyle says.
Yeah, because Kyle, you said it, but Kyle, like when she's getting her bags or whatever, she starts to kind of blame Kim for causing the pileup, and that is just a little too much for Kim to hear that Kyle's making fun of her. Obviously, it's a deep trigger to have Kyle even talk shit about her at all. And so then Kim has this blow up towards Kyle, and that's when Kyle says, welcome to Amsterdam? God damn, it's going to be like this with Kim?
It was giving single and fabulous ? Do you remember that?
No, who says that?
On Sex and the City, Carrie is supposed to do I think it's like New York Magazine cover, and it's supposed to be single and fabulous, but she's like hungover and late and like a train wreck because she like goes out and sleeps in and comes to the shoot looking like shit. And they use one of the test shots of her looking haggard, and they changed the headline to single and fabulous ?
No way.
It's like the worst day of her life.
Carrie looks like shit?
Yeah.
What? On the cover of what magazine?
I want to say it's like New York Magazine.
If we take a break, will you pull that up?
I will.
You promise?
Single and fabulous cover. It should come up quite quickly. Oh yeah, New York.
Oh. Whoa. They used that one? She should have had right of refusal.
Yeah, she should, but she was just, a lowly columnist.
So she didn't have an agent back then?
I don't think so. It was a favor through Stanford.
What does New York think when they get that on their doorstep?
She had to run around ashamed.
To try to buy up every copy?
That's just like in the movie when she her wedding gets canceled and Vogue still runs her multi-page September issue. Even
though we know that Mr. Big kind of, what would you say, he left her? He backed out, right? What's that called when you
out.
What's that called when you back out of a wedding? Cold feet?
Left at the altar. She always says that she was jilted.
Jilted, of course. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I've never been to a wedding where that happened.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Honestly, still better. Well, not in those circumstances because it was such an over the top wedding, but even with like Carl and Lindsay, I'm like, if one of them left the day before, that would still be better than doing it.
If even up to the day.
Yeah, like
yeah, we would have been.
That's like always people
Yeah.
say like their mom or their sister, their maid of honor, or whatever, is always like, we can leave.
Yeah.
If you want.
You're right. You know, that reminds me of that trope. I'll just say it now at all Bravo weddings where they always do the commercial break, right? When the officiant goes, and if anyone now shall have to say something to ruin this marriage, say it now. And then even if it's the most iconic couple in the world, they always leave you hanging like someone.
Well, the best example of all time that's so insane is the Cynthia and Peter wedding where her mom and sister hide the wedding certificate.
Yes.
The marriage certificate.
And
like actively plot.
That might be, now that you say it, that might be the worst lead up to a wedding in Bravo history. Because Cynthia,
like they
she
absolutely should have canceled. And they couldn't afford it at all.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't wait to rewatch Atlanta from the start.
Yeah, we should do wedding ones.
Yeah. Let's do, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Turtle Time wedding?
Yeah.
It's way easier for you and I.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's good for everyone.
Okay. So,
They arrive at a hotel if I'm right.
Amsterdam, this one's called.
Oh, right. And
which they use again on the next one. Amsterdam slap.
Oh, right.
But I'm like, why did you say it again?
This was before they knew that anyone would ever look at titles. This is before Peacock.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were like, we can get away with that again.
These were just inside jokes, basically, for that, production team. They didn't know that we'd ever be discussing it like this.
Yeah.
So their hotel's called Hotel de Europe.
It looked nice.
Yeah, I liked it too. Yolanda takes a big whiff of the air and she goes, "My culture, the smells. This is Holland, right?"
We keep joking that every single thing they do on this entire trip, she goes, doesn't get more Dutch than that.
Yeah, like she'll be looking at like clogs.
She'll be like, that's so fucking Dutch.
And then like people are riding bicycles. There's those two little children that are in a boat, and each one is pushing down the other end of a. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Those two little kids that they're wearing Dutch hats, and they're You
like
know
a
those,
seesaw?
She's like, it doesn't get much more Dutch than that. But she's kind of, like I said, she's kind of like just absolutely luxuriating in the smells and sights of Amsterdam.
Yeah. It's almost like, I feel like she should spend more time there. She loves it so much.
Do they call it also, this is like so stupid of me, but it's also called the Netherlands, right?
Yeah. That's one of the places. Why do you pose these questions that make us sound so stupid?
I'm sorry, but we know for a fact that they're in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Of course they are. Okay, and then this is kind of, if I remember correctly, Yolanda starts jumping on her bed. They're all a little jet lagged, right?
Yeah.
Lisa's happy because she didn't go to Lisa Vanderpump.
Yeah.
She didn't go to the Calgary charity event. She didn't get to see Steven Tyler.
She had to work. Pump is brand new.
Right. And also, who else? Eileen had to work too.
So is this perfectly aligning with our VPR rewatch?
Is this the same era?
Because if Vanderpump began, or maybe
Vanderpump began
season 3
on season 3 of Beverly Hills, and its first season must have aired around then, right?
Yeah.
So no, I
but
think...
she's saying that Pump has just opened.
Oh, she did.
And I'm like,
yeah,
maybe VPR just churned out episodes quicker.
Possibly.
We have to compare the dates.
Like Lisa Vanderpump is having more fun in this environment than she is on our current Vanderpump Rules rewatch.
Yeah.
I don't think Lisa seems like she's having a lot of fun in this era that we're recapping on Patreon.
Right. Okay, so then who is Rena recapping the Kim shit to?
She races over to LVP and Eileen because
Yeah.
these are her allies.
Yeah.
These are her allies. It's kind of Yolanda is the mediator. Like one of the best mediators I think I've ever seen. She is so clearly like on both sides and tries to get the other's point across and tries to get them all to be friends. She's a great mediator, but LVP, Rena, Eileen, and Kyle are their own team.
Yes.
And then Yolanda is kind of the Brandy Kim team, but she's kind of she's an advocate for them, but she can play both sides.
Yeah. Rena doubles down and says that Kim has classic addict behavior, and Kyle says that something's been off ever since poker night, like with the group, but with Kim.
What do you think about Rena dropping an A-bomb on camera?
Yeah.
Again, after being chastised for talking about Kim. Isn't this? I think that there's enough of Lisa Rena not getting the message that she could possibly talk about something else.
Yeah.
She uses a lot of harsh language about Kim, but I know what you might say, which is just that like Kim sort of brought this into the universe.
Yeah, I feel like if the conversation on the plane had gone better, which like there's no reason it couldn't have, then like I feel like since Kim popped off on her, she was like, well, I have no reason to like use kit gloves anymore. I'm just like, she acts a fool because she's an addict.
Yeah. And then Rena says, this is textbook addict behavior, like really, solidifying this.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that, I mean, does Kim not identify as an addict?
I guess so. But I would just say, like, would you want Lisa Rena, like, sort of diagnosing you and analyzing your behavior in the context of being an addict to Kyle, her sister?
Right. No, it's definitely like a dig, but I'm also like, if someone kept pissing you off and acting insane, wouldn't you be like, it's giving addict?
I really need to process, maybe tonight when I go to bed, I need to process if I thought that Kim's reaction was overblown. I didn't think it was.
Remember when she was supposed to go on a private jet with Maloof and Nassif, and she just never came, and they were like, where are you? And she was like, I haven't left yet. And they were like, what?
I know.
Like, we're literally on the plane. And she was like, huh?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. Who is this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember those moments. I know why Kyle and Lisa Vanderpump and everyone, like, they were firsthand witnesses to Kim's behavior. And they thought she might have gone off the wagon. Is that what you say?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she was acting funky at a poker night for sure.
Yeah.
Then they go to dinner. This is the dinner.
This is it. That's why I was shocked. I was like, you just got to Amsterdam. You just are smelling the stuff and they just are taking a huge whiff of Amsterdam.
The tulips.
Yeah, smelling the famous tulips. Oh, I've been reading about the tulip bulb affair. Do you remember that?
Excuse me?
It's one of the first crypto. I'm reading this book about crypto, and back in Holland or whatever, they had this bubble where they thought tulip bulbs were going to be like worth a lot of money, and it was this whole fake like financial scandal because they thought that
recently.
No,
or like 500 years ago.
I think it was a long time ago, but you saying tulips really kind of painted a picture for me. But yeah, that's why this is shocking, because the first minute they're in Amsterdam, they go to dinner immediately. And this is the dinner, like you said.
Yeah. So they're talking about the red light district, and Rena is like, she's like, what's the deal? Like, what's the vibe at the red light district? Like, is it something you aspire to? Like, is it like,
yeah,
I guess I kind of knew what.
I don't. She tries to paint it like it's a cultural
right
issue. She's like, do I understand this culture? Everyone sort of works towards aspiring to be a part of the red light
I think it was
district.
more like, is it celebrated or is it like a seedy underbelly?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think so. And then everyone kind of laughs at Rena for asking that like question. Lisa Vanderpump says, oh yeah, of course. Everyone grows up and wants to be a hooker, she says.
And then Yolanda's like, all I can say is that if I needed to feed my kids, I would do anything, even that. I was like, all right, I mean.
Yeah. So you've never been to the red light district?
I've not.
I'll tell you, it's kind of like, I went there. It's kind of like, what's the, Pinocchio's when he gets banished with on Donkey
like
Island.
Nightmare Town or whatever.
Yeah, Nightmare Town. It's kind of, you walk and it's like, yeah, in every window, it's like women sort of doing like the come hither, like come in here, have sex with me.
Is it like Eyes Wide Shut vibes?
Totally. And there's like red curtains and they're like giggling behind it. And like, yeah, I guess apparently you can go up and just have sex if you pay.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's wild. And then after Yolanda says the thing about how she would do anything to feed her kids, in her confessional, Lisa says, "You don't need a dick in your mouth to put food in theirs." I was like, oh.
So yeah, Lisa and Yolanda have this divide. Yolanda says, I would go on the red light district if I had to feed my children. And Lisa says, I would do anything other than that. You know what I mean?
You know how she feels about giving a BJ. She won't do it.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so this is how it all begins. Yolanda, for some reason, brings up, she's basically saying, like, I'm so grateful that you're all here. I've been, like, going through it. Like, I know we all act like our lives are perfect when they're not. For instance, my daughter, she doesn't name her, but I remember it was Bella Hadid, got a DUI. That was, like, a public kerfuffle, even though it was before she was, like, super famous, but, you know. And so she was like getting emotional about that because she's like, you worry about your kids. Like, you know, we do our best, but you never know.
And she was like, we all try to be perfect, you know, in Hollywood and Beverly Hills, like kind of like you and I, like living in Los Angeles. Like we just try to be like this facade. But she was like, this is the real me. Our kids get DUIs. They, you know, they fuck up. And
yeah. And then Rena starts getting emotional and, they're like, what's going on? And then this is where she reveals that her sister died when she was 6 years old and her sister was 21 from, like, I forget which drug it was, but it was like mixed with alcohol and it was an overdose, which I'm like, that must have been what, like the 70s, early 70s or something.
Yeah. I don't know. When
I haven't
Rena
done the math. What year do you think Lisa Rinna was born?
Ooh, I don't want to get in trouble in hot water with Rena heads.
She's got to be 50.
You want me to find out when her birthday is?
Sure.
Okay. Will it help?
Yeah, because we'll do +6.
To find out, what era this happened?
Yeah.
She was born 1963.
Okay.
3 or 4 months before JFK was assassinated.
Shit.
On November 22nd, 1963.
A day we'll never forget.
Yeah, July 11th. She's a summer baby. July 11th.
Okay, so her sister died in the summer of 69?
The summer, oh my God, Woodstock era.
She died at Woodstock.
Oh my God. And Lisa Rinna probably
She was a
doesn't...
flower child?
Oh my God. Yeah, and Lisa Rinna probably doesn't even remember the JFK assassination.
I do.
Well, I know, but like she was like a firsthand, well, not firsthand, but she was alive then.
Lee Harvey Oswald had a lot of shit going on, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, because why was he? Because he had been to Russia, right?
There's so much.
Yeah.
He's definitely affiliated. I mean, he literally is affiliated with the CIA.
I know. What the hell was going on? People say Lyndon Johnson did it.
He wanted to take over.
He goes, this is my only way. So he called the CIA director and he said, let's...
They didn't want to pull out of Nam.
Right. And the CIA wanted
a big
to finish
money business.
It's so true. God, don't get us started on the JFK assassination because we will talk your ear off. Rena goes, so this is why I started to roll my eyes, even though Rena is touching a deep-rooted issue. She says, she's crying, and I understand. This is trauma, and it's so sad. But I don't know. I'm conflicted because maybe you're right, and maybe I'm wrong. But she goes, she's painting Kim with this brush. It's like she's bringing it up again. So Lisa Rinna cries, like you said, and she goes, I'm susceptible to this. I have deep-rooted issues surrounding alcohol and drug overdoses. And so if I come across too strong about these things, and then she points at Kim lightly, that's what I think the mistake was. Because then you instantly watch Kim start to roll her eyes and look at someone else at the table. It's like, stop bringing me into issues about sobriety and drug overdoses and alcohol abuse. I already asked you before on the plane. I've texted you before this trip that I don't want this talked about. I had this one slip up, and I think that even though I think you're probably right that Rena had good intentions, but I understand why Kim was just like, enough, for the love of God, stop. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I just feel like dead childhood sister and 2 dead brother-in-laws gives you the right to be like, you can understand, like, to paint the picture for you clearly. That is why I'm always worried about this shit. Like, I feel like if you bring up that your sister died when you were a small child and she was 21, and that, so she has 3 deaths to go off of.
mm-hmm.
I feel like if you pull that card, you kind of just have to be like, all right.
Okay. I think that she could have avoided this if she hadn't done that hand gesture to Kim that she did.
But like, I didn't feel like it was totally resolved on the plane because it was so like combative.
It was.
So it felt like, to then wrap it up with a bow after Yolanda bringing up a topic, she brought up DUI first,
Right.
which I'm a little confused about why. So that's number one.
Because she said that our life isn't perfect.
Sure. But so it was a chain of events. Yolanda brought up DUI. Rena goes, that reminds me, like, your daughter was like endangered by that. It reminds me of, she's around my sister's age. I worry about my daughters who are teens. I feel sensitive about all of that. Per our conversation earlier, I'm sorry that I keep bringing this shit up. That is why this shit is hard for me.
Okay.
I think it makes perfect sense.
So it's a difference of opinions. If you think the plane conversation was a nip it in the bud, it's over. Or this could have been the icing on the cake for Rena to say, it is officially over now. Now you know why I went in so much. So please take this as my official apology. It'll never happen again. But in Kim's mind, she is bringing it up again. But I think you're right. I think that Rena had good intentions here. I'll give her that. But I'm completely fine with how Kim reacted to it. I really am.
Like blackmail?
I think that if Lisa Rinna is going to continue to talk about the most sensitive issue in Kim's life, the like make or break crux of her life, this is not like Eileen put too much chips on the table and they got, too much salsa on the table, or like whatever the fuck they fight about at poker night. This is like a struggle, a deep struggle with Kim, and she doesn't want anybody to talk about it, not even probably her family on camera. So I just think that it's just too much for her to constantly hear about this. She says, if you're going to talk about one of the deepest, darkest things in my life that has affects my family and is affecting my relationship with my sister and all this shit, I'm going to bring up some shit that I know about your family and bring that to the forefront because I'm fucking tired of you talking about this issue and not worrying about yourself.
What do you think she knows?
I don't know. I don't know if it's appropriate to get into. What are your theories?
I don't know.
Well, let's say, so you could say that was the perfect olive branch, perfectly, poetic, beautiful olive branch that Lisa Rinna gave to Kim. Mm-hmm. I could see Kim, and I could see some people who are Team Kim. If you're a Team Kim head, let's rise up and see that was Rinna pushing the storyline to a degree that Kim didn't want anymore, and just testing the limits of how she could talk about it on camera. And Kim was ready to go nuclear option once that happened. So this is a divide. This is, I think, Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs. This might be a Lisa had good intentions versus Kim was in the right. Something like that.
I guess it's like, just because you struggle with, substance abuse doesn't mean that you need to be the poster child or that you want to be. It's just like, I guess I'm grappling with like the fact that she doesn't want to be associated at all. Like it's like a dirty secret or something.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, it's like, we're proud of you. Like, you've made progress. But she is sort of like a tough nut to crack, and her life is kind of secretive. Like, besides when she shows up for events, you kind of have no fucking clue what's going on in her life, what she's up to. Like, what is she ever doing? She
Kim?
doesn't talk about anything.
Kim?
Yeah.
Remember she made that amazing salad.
Like, I feel like she is a little bit
Nose job.
dodgy.
Yeah. I think, well, here's, for reality television, and especially in the Housewives context, having your alcoholism and drug addiction be a focal point of like seasons of this franchise is probably, I mean, not many other cast members have dealt with something like that.
Yeah.
So having this recovery play out on camera is kind of unprecedented.
Yeah.
And I think that
One could argue unhealthy for your process.
for sure. And then I think if we were going to rewatch this season, I do think that Rena dabbles in the territory of trying to question if Kim is getting help properly, like what rehab facility did she go to, who she's getting treated by, like kind of, questions the authenticity of this storyline overall.
Is it the next season after this where it still persists when she's talking to Eden Sassoon or whatever the fuck her name was, and then she decides that she wants to get in on this too? Like,
I think so. I mean, and then you can take the Rena Munchausen thing. I mean, it's very similar to this. It's like, I think Rena is I think that Rena is extremely fake, and she doesn't know. She's fine bringing anything to the forefront for a valuable storyline, and she doesn't give a shit about anybody actually on this cast. She treats it like a job. Sort of like Eileen, except Lisa Rinna is much more engaging and compelling than Eileen. But they're acting like this is a soap opera, and I think Rinna hasn't switched out of that mode.
Yeah.
So whatever. Kim does react.
She goes like, "I'm sorry if I've been in your business, like that's why," or whatever. And Kim, you think like, how's this gonna go? Like, maybe she'll be like, okay, like I understand. Or she goes, well, you have. And Kyle's like, ah!
Kyle can't believe it that Kim is ready to go to a 10 out of 10 on the scale of fury immediately. But also, we can't understate also how Brandy has been filtering this information to Kim and what she's been hearing about how the cast talk about her sobriety.
Yeah.
It's such a sensitive issue for her that who knows what the fuck Kim thinks about what they've all been saying about her. So
right.
I think eventually Rena does say, she's like, I am fully fucking backed off now. I feel like Kim had to go to drastic measures to get Rena off her fucking back about this.
Yeah.
So anyway, yep. So
but
it
she
goes
says she's been sober for 3 years, and that she's like, my real friends, and basically like points to everyone else in the room, they haven't seen me like that. And Rena's like, well, I have. And then they show all the clips from poker night and stuff, which are cuckoo.
Yeah, we watched it. It was a little odd. I think, she felt a little loopy.
Which I feel like, why does Rena always stumble upon these like visions? Like, she saw the worst of Kathy Hilton. She like had to share a car with
That's true.
Kim.
I forgot. Oh yeah, I'm definitely team Rena on that one. I know that she witnessed some like wild shit that
slurs.
Kathy Hilton said.
Kim says she took that medication for pain. She didn't react well to it. She said she ended up in the hospital for, she goes like a week. Like, she sort of like trails off where I'm like, I need more information about this hospital stay.
I know.
Like, what are you talking about?
And that does lend credence to what you're saying about Kyle, where it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
Kim was seemingly fucked up at poker night, and then she was in the hospital for 5 days after.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And then she said that her real friends and family would step in if needed. So basically, like, not your problem. And then she starts getting into it with Eileen.
Well, Eileen, this is ridiculous. Eileen's entire journey on this trip, or her arc on this trip, is like, makes no sense to me. She is so adrift at what is she supposed to be doing in this universe that she tries to get in the middle of this for no reason. She's like, just a minute, like just talking for no reason, trying to, I guess, defend Rena, when this is just a conversation between Kim and Rena at this point, and they're having a they're having a fight. But then Eileen tries to get in it, and then Kim has to completely divert her attention to just tell Eileen to shut the fuck up.
She's like, don't point your finger at me, Kim. And then Kim brings up Rena's situation at home.
Yes.
And she goes, if you want to bring out all my stuff, let's talk about your home life. And this Eileen is like, don't, like, stop it. Like, don't do this. And this is when Kim is like, I'm not talking to you. And she's like, shut your fucking mouth. And Eileen goes, shame on you.
Yeah, she goes, shut your fucking mouth. I've heard enough out of you, you beast.
Beast?
And,
how dare you?
yeah, that is the most, like, well, I mean, I do like that moment because I like that Kim brought out beast, which is, like, definitely one of the I mean, wildest insults I've ever heard in my life. To be called a beast. And then
also, like, Eileen, like,
she's
that
a beast.
beastly woman.
Yeah, right. And then Eileen gets the beast. How dare you?
It's like one of my favorite quotes of all time.
Yeah, mine too. But I just don't understand what Eileen was doing in this situation. Yeah. She just, like, she's defending Rena in a way, but Rena does not need her help. And I feel like Kim wants to focus on Lisa Rena, then she has to get Eileen out of here by calling her a beast, and then her focus is back on Rena, to resolve this fight.
Well, I think Eileen, I mean, she brings it up here, where she's like, you came into my house, and Kim is like, I apologize for that, and she goes, actually, you didn't.
Yeah.
So I think Eileen was still, like, had a bad taste in her mouth from poker night at her house, which we were watching the clips, and every time Kim was saying fuck you to everybody at that
yeah
event.
She was adopting sort of a strange persona at the poker table, like a cigar smoking, like, hothead or whatever, saying calling people stupid and telling them to fuck off.
Yeah, and Eileen kept being like, there's a sleeping child upstairs, and I'm like, he's like 12.
Then, so it's going back and forth a little bit. Then this is when Kyle wants to do damage control, if I'm correct in the timing of this. She tries to stop this. And then this is when Kim says, Kyle, you should have nipped this in the bud on your own. And instead, you're hiding behind a napkin, and doing the full, like, or, it wasn't a napkin, whatever the fuck that was on the plane. So she really resents that Kyle just, like, didn't mediate and didn't get behind Kim. And she's really pissed off about it. And Kyle is like, almost, she's very upset already that this is happening.
Yeah. There was also one more back and forth with Eileen where, because when she says, you didn't apologize about poker night, and then Kim goes, I don't like you.
Yeah.
And then Eileen goes, guess what? I don't particularly like you either. I can't find one damn thing to like about you right at the moment. Like, she's so, like,
I don't get it.
Gee willikers.
I think that Eileen thinks this is all fake.
But then Kim goes lower. She goes, I never have either, from your hair to your face to your attitude.
Yeah, I thought that was okay. A fine retort. But I don't understand what Eileen is. I really don't understand what Eileen is doing in this.
Well, I
situation.
think she's like a twofer with Rena. She considers them like a duo.
Yeah.
And she is equally as outraged. Like, she's always like, are we all going to ignore the elephant in the room, which is Kim's behavior? Like, she is also bothered by that.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, it is like, it's one thing if you're just quietly sober and, like, recovering and minding your business eternally. For people to keep bringing it up, then you're like, I'm just, like, living my fucking life, leave me alone. But then the behavior at poker night makes it everyone's business.
I guess you're right. I guess.
Like,
you're
how
right.
many times do you have to show up acting weird?
Yeah.
For people to be like, what?
Yeah. I have such a, like, I have the, like, glass half empty view of them. I'm like, I think that Eileen just, like, wanted a piece of this. I just think that
I don't get, like, storyline hunting from her, though. I think she just actually, like, wanted some form of justice. Like, I think she just, like, doesn't like Kim.
Well, the way Eileen acts later in the trip, which I don't want to step on, though, makes me think that, like, she just doesn't know how to navigate this ecosystem properly. And she feels kind of left behind. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I just think that Kim kind of just, like, shuts her down, immediately with that beast comment. Like,
yeah, she says later, Eileen is like, looks at Kim, she goes, she's pure evil.
Yeah, she's never seen anything like this before.
And then, Kyle's already crying. She's like, Kim, stop. And this is where she's like, Kyle, shush up. Does the napkin impression.
Yeah.
And then Kyle's like, I can't defend you when you act like this.
Yep. And then Kim's like, you never defend me ever. You know, it's a constant theme, you know, in their relationship. Lisa Vanderpump tries to stick up for Kyle and says she does defend you. And that's when Kim says, Brandy. Kim goes low here. She definitely touches a sensitive button for Kyle. She goes, Brandy defends me more than you, which sort of is now like Brandy is accused of pitting Kim and Kyle and like trying to like making their relationship worse. Yeah. So that's like horrible for Kyle to hear at this moment that like Kim has an ally in Brandy and she's trying to like sully their relationship.
Which it is like funny watching this. I remember at the time like just being like, wow, great choice, Brandy Glanville as your voice of reason in your corner. But like she has nothing to lose. Like Brandy has no allies essentially at this point.
Right.
So she's like, I'll go for a Kim.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true. And then she also says, you know, Kathy would never do this to me. Kathy would have my back completely.
Like a real sister.
Yep. And so that's then, like you said already, it's like employing the deepest trigger that Kyle would have, that like Kyle and her, that Kathy and Kim have this like bond that they don't share with Kyle, which is very sad for Kyle to hear. I mean, she's so upset during this conversation. Yeah.
She said, you've been doing this to me for years. Then Rena says, it's not okay to talk to your sister or anybody like that. And she's like, you don't understand our relationship. And Rena's like, your behavior is not okay. And this is where Kim goes, eat a piece of bread. Maybe you'll calm down a little. Yep. And Eileen's like, shame on you. You're disgusting, Kim. Like she like can't believe the decorum or lack of decorum.
Yes, there's a lack of decorum here. But here is all that Kim did. She tried to stop Lisa Rinna from talking about her sobriety, in which I agree it's to a level to which Rinna wasn't at. So she tries to nip that in the bud by saying, if you talk about me, I'm going to bring up the skeletons out of your closet, whether they be true or not. Eileen butts in, and Kim just says, I don't fucking like you. I barely know you. All I know is that you've been talking about my therapy and all this shit behind my back, so fuck off, you beast. Then Kyle is being... I can see it from your point of view, but now I'm going full Kim stan here. Kyle is being, I think, overly sensitive. I know she's dealt with a lot of abuse from Kim, but in this isolated context, I see it from Kim's point of view. And I just feel like Kim is fighting back against these people that she thinks are questioning her sobriety and potentially putting damaging, scurrilous rumors on camera. So she ethers Rena. She like blows Eileen out of the water by calling her a beast, and Eileen is like full clutching pearls. Monocle is thrown to the wind, and then when Kyle is crying, Kyle's like, I can't. Whoa, God, the gall of this. I'm like, Kyle, like to me, it's not that bad. This is not that horrible to me, in my opinion. It's not so.
I think it's like they are on such a tightrope all the time that every single time something like this happens, they're fucked again. Like they are hardly ever able to connect or forgive each other or get on the same page. So
Kyle and Kim?
Yes. So every time there's like something that's a roadblock, it's like, here we fucking go. Like we are never going to get back on the same page.
Yeah. You could also say though that Rena and Eileen are new, and like Kyle is instantly like being allies with people that are questioning her sister's sobriety.
That's like her path later is like she shuts down any conversations like that. 'Cause she's like, I cannot deal with the aftermath of this. I'm not talking about it at all. You know what I mean?
And I know it's a low blow that what Kim says about the real sister shit or whatever, but I like it's in the realm of shit they've discussed before. I mean, I know it's a deep trigger, but that's how Kim feels at that moment. She feels like Kyle is putting a napkin over her head as Rena questions her sobriety on camera. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you can get into Kim's head a little bit here.
Just Kim has like no interest in like I guess she's just kind of like an outlaw.
Who?
Kim.
She is.
Like she doesn't like wish to create peace in the group or like just like Kim or Kyle wants to keep the peace. Like she's like, I just want to exist on this show with my friend immediately acquaintances, like have relationships, and like Kim always blows that shit up. And so like she's like, join me on the outskirts, always
Yes.
support me. And Kyle's like, can I just like live in peace?
Right. And I don't want the outlaw to come into this peaceful town and upset the sheriff. In my opinion, actually, Kyle does get sort of desperate for storylines because they don't come organic to her. So she does a lot of pot stirring, if I remember correctly, overall throughout her run, because she's not organically as entertaining as Kim. Even at Kim, I'm not saying that Kim is compelling because of her addiction issues. I'm saying that Kim is just endearing and compelling to watch because she is kind of a freewheeling spirit. Like I find Kim just much more compelling overall than Kyle. Completely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if I agree with that full assessment that Kyle is just trying to protect the peace. I think Kyle tries to get in the muck as much as she can, but she's just not as good at creating organic conflict like Kim is. Kim was ready to fucking throw down at this dinner, and she doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, what we're going to talk about next, I think Rena is the one who deals the damaging blow to this entire group dynamic, and she doesn't get anything for it.
Violence.
Yeah, violence. Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy.
What do you? So Kim, in my opinion, I'm just gonna ride for Kim as long as I can until you disabuse me of that. Kim delivers two iconic moments in one. I mean, you could argue that the Kyle annihilation is an iconic moment, even though it's so mean. But she gives the calm down or eat a little piece of bread and calm down a little, which I know is an iconic Kim moment. She has the you beast to Eileen, all within the span of like 1 minute at this table. She's going
I know. I
toe-to-toe
feel like
with,
we're on like a minute like 7 of the episode.
yeah,
at this
but
point
she
or
goes toe
something.
to toe with 3 people at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, who else can say that they did that?
It's true. So then Yolanda finally chimes in. She hasn't said a word this entire time. She's
Classic
just been
mediator,
watching.
a good mediator.
Yeah.
She's ready to get the common ground here again.
Yeah. She says she understands Kim's sensitivities. Like she's worked really hard to get where she is. And she goes, but I also understand Lisa Rinna, all of her dead family members and her sober husband. And this is where Kim goes, let's talk about the husband. Yikes.
Yeah, she lets out a phew.
Which I'm
She
like,
goes-
what does that mean?
She goes, let's talk about the husband.
Is everyone in Hollywood talking about Harry Hamlin being a mess?
Oh, okay. So here, is it? I'm worried about.
Like I almost wanted Rena to just be like, go ahead.
So you have no idea what she's trying to say.
No, there was a rumor.
Here, I'll say the rumor, and this is not. Well, I'm like worried if I say it, then I'm like adding it to the universe.
No, but like what it's been discussed since, and I'm trying to remember.
Isn't the rumor that they think Harry Hamlin is a closeted gay man, and their relationship is to
if that's
protect
the
that?
case, I would be like, go ahead, say that.
Right.
I'd be like,
because it would make Kim look
It would make her
worse.
look like shit.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, and people can say, Riley, that's the worst thing you ever said, but I think that was what.
And it was like
Kim,
he goes to Saskatchewan or whatever, and like has a cabin or whatever. I kind of remember.
I
that.
don't think there's any merit to that, but I think that is the rumor mill that Kim is rolling around in. That she was ready. You're right. If she would have said that potentially damaging rumor that was not true on camera, it could have been very bad for Kim.
Yeah.
She kind of just lets the accusation go up and doesn't have to qualify it at all.
Like I was wondering if Lisa had any sense of what she was talking about, and if she was scared, or if she was just like, that's so fucked up for you to like imply that there's something. But I'm like, if she kind of had an inkling of what it was, or like really didn't feel that they had anything to hide, I would be like, please enlighten us.
Yeah. Yeah. So Rena, this is her first season. I can't believe this, but when Rena hears what Kim kind of said under her breath, but she could hear it because Kim goes, let's talk about the husband. Woo. And then Rena goes, excuse me, did you just say, let's talk about my husband? And then this is when Kim, she's ready. I mean, dog with a bone territory. She wanted to bring up something potentially damaging about Rena because she thinks Rena is talking damagingly about her. She goes, let's not talk about what you don't want out.
Yeah. And then Eileen goes, you're a scary, vicious human being.
Yes.
And then Rena says some multitude of like, don't ever touch my husband. Don't you ever go near my husband. And she lunges towards Kim, obviously trying to grab her throat.
Yeah, she wants to put Kim in a chokehold. Choke the life out of Kim.
Yeah. And she kind of moves back. So luckily there's no contact is made.
Yeah. And then Brandy kind of keeps Kim back too, because Kim is going at it too, starting to get up.
And Kim's like, you want everybody to know?
Yeah.
Like, keep talking about me and everyone will know. And that's when Rena throws water at her and then smashes the glass on the table. And immediately Kyle in her cape flees through the door that's right behind them, and there's like smoke outside.
Yeah.
And it's the most cinematic moment that makes
Yes.
me laugh so hard every time.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. You know, this major moment. Rena, this is a real moment from Rena, right? Like when her ire is up and her rage has peaked at this accusation. I mean, we see her try to inflict violence upon Kim. I mean, she goes for a chokehold.
Is giving a Danielle Cabral when Jen Aiden said that her husband had bitch tits or whatever she said.
Yeah, I think she said bitch tits. and then is this the most violent moment in Beverly Hills history?
Has to be, right?
And I don't know why my memory, I think it's because Rena is so unhinged, but in my memory, Rena had the stem of the glass and was still sort of taunting Kim with it, like she was going to stab her, but I don't think that happened. She kind of just fully crashes the wine glass down and lets glass shatter everywhere.
Yeah.
So is Rena, in your mind, let's say there's no accusation against Harry that holds water, is Rena just like, accusations about my husband or false insinuations about my husband are the worst thing you could ever fucking do in your life, and I'm gonna kill you if you say anything about him? Like,
I kind of choose to be endeared by when people care that much that you were talking shit about their partner. Like, I'm like, I wish someone would get that upset for me.
like it's like kind of like we were talking about with duels and slapping people with white gloves.
Exactly.
Like
the
defending
honor.
But what the hell is Rena, is this, so I guess you already answered my question. This is a real moment from Rena. This isn't, I just turned into a soap opera.
I don't think that she would have
No.
The like choke thing is like
No.
gnarly. Like, thank God she didn't actually like touch her, because it would have been bad.
Yeah. So Rena saw red.
Yeah.
I mean,
that episode could have been called that.
Yeah, Rena saw red. She gets violent. Glass, you said it, just falls and kind of shatters everywhere. I think Kyle might be rubbing a piece of it off of her as she runs, because she stays in the doorway for a second and really quickly does a little like brushing off motion before she runs into the night or whatever.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like, I guess, so when we're talking about the aftermath is right after, and like it's there, like Yolanda walks Rena out.
Yes.
In her interview, Rena goes, I lost my fucking marbles. Like, she owns it. Like, she's like, that was bad. Like, shouldn't have done that.
Yep.
Kyle's crying outside. Eileen hugs her. LVP comes. She's like, tells Kim, she's like, you went too far. Yeah. And then Kim is like, she can't lie about me or I'll tell something that is true. And like, so there's like more shouting.
And my overall, and then Rena is crying too.
Yeah. Yolanda's hugging a crying Rena.
Yeah.
Eileen is like crying on Rena's behalf. They hug. So judging by the people in the room, almost every single person takes Rena's side.
That's my biggest question.
So I'm like, in the room, it must have felt really bad coming from Kim. Like, everyone was like, what the fuck?
Rena got off scot-free.
Yeah.
From committing the most violent act I've seen in Beverly Hills history. It's not as violent as some other fights I've seen. It got so bad on Jersey.
Well, but that's what drove Brandy mad.
What did?
The hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Because she's like, if I did that, I literally would have gone to jail. Yeah. Because everyone already thinks she's a psycho.
People are crying around Rena. Rena is heaving, crying. They're all like, that went too far, Kim. I'm like, Rena went too far. You were just getting your ass handed to you by Kim. She was screaming and yelling, but she was holding court at this table and just handing out insults. I
think because everyone thought what I think, that what Rena said was not out of line, and then Kim went for the jugular, so to speak.
But I feel like we say this, a turtle time maxim is that it doesn't matter. At some point, we have to judge the person who is the first to try to inflict violence, or it rises to a level. But nothing that Kim said about eating bread or about what she potentially knows about Harry. I've heard that accusation 1,000 times on every franchise, that a secret significant other, we've talked about it, it's almost a trope at this point, that a significant other might be gay or whatever the accusation is. Nothing excuses Rena for doing this, and I can't believe that they all rally around Rena and let her cry and console her and talk about Kim being the beast after this. Rena just ruined the dinner, caused glass to fly all over all of them, made Kyle run screaming. I do not understand this reaction at all. I really don't understand it.
So this is then Kyle comes back to the restaurant to like get her stuff, and then she tries to leave, and Kim goes, "Go out to your new friend, Kyle." And she goes, "How can I defend your behavior when you act like this?" And then Kim's like, "She lies about me.
Yeah.
All I was gonna do was tell the truth about her life." And then there's still people in the restaurant that have just like still been eating dinner when like glass was broken and people are screaming.
I want to say this for the record, when this is going in the Turtle Time record, what Rena did was an overreaction, right? A rage-fueled overreaction. I know you said you like the honor, the defending of Harry Hamlin's wonderful honor, but I mean, I feel like
would
this
you
was
similarly say on the New Jersey finale that Danielle overreacted?
Yes, I know exactly why Danielle did what she did, but I can't. It's just once it gets to violence, I don't think we can ever excuse it. It's just that it's a scene ender. Even as a viewer, it's a scene ender. It's a potential you're off the show. They don't want it anymore. I appreciate the moments where. I mean, I don't appreciate the moments. I just mean that. I just think that. Well, for me, just in this instance, I think that I don't understand what the fuck Rena was doing and why it went to this level, and why she is not being properly chastised for her behavior, and Kim is. And I guess you're right. If I'm thinking about Danielle and Jen Aiden, I wish that Danielle didn't jump over the table and cause glass to shatter and do all that shit, Even though I know why Danielle did it. To me, what Jen Aiden said about Danielle and her husband is more justified than whatever accusation Kim was going to make about Harry Hamlin. Calling him bitch, whatever she said, calling him bitch tits or whatever to Nate Cabral. Kim didn't even get to level her accusation before Rena went, violent on her.
Yeah. So Kim and Brandy are the only ones left. Brandy's like, "This is awesome. I'm like covered in glass." Yolanda comes back, and you are like, "What is she gonna say? Like, what is she gonna do?" And she basically says, "Kim, what the hell?"
Yeah.
Like, that was not the way to communicate. Like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
So like even Yolanda, who we call the great mediator, is like, "Kim, what the fuck was that?"
Do you think, I'm trying to now give like the opposite side credence? Do you think it's just because Kim is responsible? She is primarily responsible for the dinner going so far afield. It started as sort of a dinner to possibly mend fences. Yeah. And then it went to this. But, I don't know. Like, Kim is responsible for that at least.
Yeah. Like, I feel like she went a little bit demonic.
Kim did.
Yes. Like, she was basically like Rena was like, "I'm sorry if I have offended you. I'm sensitive around overdoses because of my life experience." And she was like, "Your mother sucks cocks in hell."
Right. But Rena went demonic.
Well, yeah. I feel like the bear was poked and she responded.
Rena has never acted like this again, right?
No, I don't think so.
This is her one rage-filled moment. She never does this again.
And you can tell that she is like sort of shaken by this whole thing.
All right, well, this is another, Kim versus Rena. Is it justified that Rena had that reaction, or did Kim handle that dinner magnificently? And it was perfect.
Yeah, and now everyone feels bad for Kyle, because Kyle's like, no one knows what I've gone through over the years or whatever. Like, if I don't defend her, I'm an asshole. And then Eileen tearfully is like, I don't know how you do it, Kyle. And Lisa Vanderpump is like, I've seen it all. Like, you've been through it with her. Like, you've tried really hard. Like, you know.
Eileen didn't know what show she was on.
Oh.
I know, you know what I mean? I think Eileen was
like,
just
too serious.
Yeah, I think she was like, oh, a reality show. You go to pageants and you spin around and it's just like a soap opera. They probably pitched it to her. It's like, it's a real soap opera. And then when she sees like glass throwing and getting called a beast or whatever, she's taken aback completely.
And she, at this point, has already had wine thrown in her face by Brandy. So I think my take is that I think it would help if we revisited this entire season first.
Yeah.
Because I think the point is that Brandy and Kim are a little bit like outcasts and everyone thinks they act like shit.
Yeah.
And like Brandy crosses the line constantly. Everyone thinks she's trash. Like, there's no other way to put it. They think she's shitty and bad.
Yeah, and her behavior this trip is so much less justified to me than Kim's.
Yeah.
Kim starts out this trip being the villain and then gets back in everybody's good graces, and then Brandy decides to become the villain for the second half, completely just on her own.
Yeah.
Like,
And
makes that
then
decision.
Kim historically is like a bit of a chaos agent, and, you know, has... her storyline is like a roller coaster as far as like how she's doing, good or bad. And the last thing that has happened is that it was a question mark on if she had relapsed or like whatever was going on with her. And now she's partnered up with Brandy. So I think all the other women are like, all right, have fun over there. Like, we don't trust y'all.
Yeah. Before I watched this episode, like, I would have said, like, I'm team Brandy and team Kim in this whole situation, and now I'm vacillating on my loyalty to Kim. And after watching this whole trip, I was like, Brandy handled this the worst I've ever seen. I was like, this is Brandy's flop era completely.
Yeah, she kind of lost it.
I cannot justify Brandy at all. In this era.
So Yolanda is saying to Kim, you can't go after kids or husbands. We know this.
Yep.
Kim goes, this does affect my kids, which, you know, we can always, in this case, it makes the most sense of anyone saying that comment, but people always pull that where they're like, you mess with me, you mess with my kids. I'm like, okay, well then you can't be on the show.
You're right. And I'm a hypocrite if I don't call Kim out for that, because Heather Dubrow is currently doing that on the OC, where she said that the paparazzi photo at Disneyland affects her children.
Yeah.
So it just,
I mean, I do understand, like, this is like the most serious a topic can be. So like, if you are accusing someone of relapse, that actually does affect her kids. And like her, whether it's, I don't know, I think they're too old for like a custody conversation, but like, you know, shit like that. It is serious.
I gave Kim the point on that one. I said it does affect your kids.
And then they all go home, which I'm like, did they ever eat? Like, they never even got to eat. And everyone's just feeling bad for Kyle. It becomes it's all switched to Kyle, like empathy for Kyle.
I think like you said, they're like, Kyle, God, this is what you have to deal with. Oh my God, it must be hell on earth.
Yeah.
You know? And
then in the other room it's Kim, Brandy, and Yolanda. Kim is like, I need a break from Kyle. Like, that's what I learned today. And Eileen is still crying, where she's like, the cruelty is so bizarre to me, which I'm like, welcome to Hollywood, baby. Like, come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then Rena goes, they're in so much pain. And I don't know if she meant Kim and Brandy or just Kim and all addicts.
Kim and Brandy. And then they show this shot of just Brandy and Kim like sitting on the couch. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, they do seem like a kind of toxic duo,
ragtag as fuck.
Especially when you see how they behave, you know.
Especially
on this trip.
by the end, not to get ahead, but when they do the compliment circle, and Brandy literally turns into like a feral animal who like cannot accept a compliment. I'm like, go to therapy, please.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Eileen is like, Kim and Brandy just have no problem crossing a line that shouldn't be crossed, which I guess is true. I mean, especially Brandy.
Brandy crosses lines. Well, I mean, I guess you could say, I think, I don't know. I think Kim was within reason here. Brandy is the one, and she does this multiple times throughout this trip. She pushes the envelope a few times.
Yeah. LVP wants to freaking leave, and they're
Yeah.
like, no, like it's gonna be fun. We're gonna make it work. Rena says she will never talk to Kim again.
Yep.
And then the next morning, Rena says she's in post-traumatic mode, and she's like looking out the window, and there's a knock at the door, and it's Kim, which I actually was shocked by.
I was shocked, and I love it.
Yeah.
I was so proud of Kim. Rena said the morning after, she's like, I have post-traumatic stress disorder from this. I'm just entered into full survival mode.
Yeah.
But I just keep thinking. Kim said, let's talk about the husband. Let's talk about the husband. Eat some bread. And called Eileen a beast.
Yeah.
And Rena smashed a glass, and glass shattered over everyone. And Brandy is picking glass out of her hair. Kim's got it in her pants last night. They probably had to shower and get glass pieces off from Rena shattering a glass. And Rena's in post-traumatic stress mode after her doing this.
I think when you from what I've learned, like, remember Portia, how like traumatized she was when she got violent? Like, I think there's like a deep like shame spiral after you do something like that, where you like cause a scene or were like felt that you were made to get to that point.
But there's no shame placed on Rena. There was so much shame placed on Portia. It was like, you're fucking fired.
Sure, but like personally, like you would feel like, wow, like I can't believe I let myself get to that place.
I wish Rena would have admitted that. She never says that once. She lets Kim take the brunt of the ire of the group when she did the despicable act at the table.
Yeah.
The egregious act.
Now I want to
Glass
watch
all
the
over them.
reunion.
Me too. But Kim, I mean, you hand it to Kim for coming to her hotel and
Yeah.
sitting down with her and having this. I mean, she apologizes,
Yeah.
right? To Rena. When Kim,
Kind of.
it's at least she goes to her to have a conversation so they can continue the
They kind of just,
trip.
I don't know if she actually says I'm sorry. She just says things this got crazy, you know, and then like Rena's like, I should have come directly to you. Kim brings up how it affects her kids. She says like, Rena's like, that wasn't my intention. And they're kind of talking around it.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, Kim, she takes it to the level of like, it's about my kids. Rena said, I never meant to do anything like that. Rena said, you really pissed me off. That was really low. About the husband comment.
Yeah.
And then Kim says, you know, it was low for both of us.
Yeah, there's no apologies really.
But it's a truce.
Yeah, they're just like, we still have to be on this trip for 4 more days.
But
so.
it's letting Rena know that she will not tolerate any talk more questioning her sobriety or it being brought up again.
Yeah.
And talks about how low it was for her personally. And I think that this is finally when Rena gets it and
Yeah.
will never mention it again. And then Rena did a good job of telling Kim why it was so horrible. And I think Kim acknowledges why it was fucked up what she did as well. Enough. Even though she doesn't apologize. But this is kind of it's a truce conversation, which I didn't think we would ever get.
Yeah. And then in her confessional, Kim is like, I can forgive because I want peace. That's actually something I learned in treatment.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And then Rena said, she told me to back off and I am backed off now.
Yeah.
So it's like, so Kim got her argument across.
Yeah. And like, so basically the rest of the trip, because Rena is now like, all right, like that's a mea culpa. I'm fucking good. Like, I don't need to be friends with this bitch, but like, let's move on. I don't want to think about this anymore. And everyone else, or at least Kyle and Eileen and Brandy, are like, no, like
Yeah.
we shan't move on from this.
Yes.
And the parties involved are like, I'd rather just ignore it,
Yeah.
quite honestly,
Right.
because I just want to be on a trip. Like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. And everyone else that didn't get this truce are like, no.
Yeah. And Eileen especially. Eileen was left in the lurch with this resolution because she went out on a limb, and I say kind of like inauthentically. I think she tried to be a part of that fight. That's my interpretation. And then when Rena and Kim resolved this thing, she's like, wait, where's my apology? It's like, what is Kim going to fucking apologize to you for? You interrupted their conversation. She called you a fucking beast and told you to shut up. You know what I mean?
You're like, what's the fucking problem? She called you a beast and told you to shut your fucking mouth. That's normal and good.
So then what is it? They all, then they're all huddling down because they're all in post-traumatic stress mode a little bit. They don't know what's going on, right? They're just like hanging out in the hallway.
Yeah.
Right.
They're now going to go on a day trip to Yolanda's hometown. They go on bikes, which she says there's nothing more Dutch than that.
Yes.
Windmills, nothing more Dutch than that.
It's so Dutch.
Couldn't be more Dutch. She runs into, do you think this guy was a scammer? She runs into a guy that claims that they dated.
Yes. So this guy, his name is Peter Paul. The first windmill they get to, I don't even know why they went to this guy's.
Yeah.
But he goes, I want to talk about this for a second. He goes, he's just standing there, and I don't know what windmill this was, but she goes up to him and he goes, I remember you from back then. And then Yolanda is being sweet, like placating him or whatever. And she goes, from where? And he goes, we dated.
Yeah.
To Yolanda. And Yolanda goes, dated? Really? And she goes, can I have your name? And he goes, Peter Paul. And then she goes, oh, we had a kiss? And I was like, he said you dated. Like actively dated. And Yolanda says she tried to make it into just like one little kiss that they had.
Yeah. And she goes, I guess I'll blame the brain damage because I don't remember him at all. I don't remember the look of him. I don't remember his name.
Yeah. But I was thinking, I don't know, do you think that Peter Paul just wanted to take, I thought he was kind of like the boy across the street in the rival windmill that she did have a brief romance with, and she didn't want to admit to it.
I was trying to size it. It was impossible to tell his age because he had a beard and was wearing a hat. And I was like, are they the same age?
Right. And why did they go here?
I don't know.
Because all they did was
it felt like they chose a house at random as it was her hometown. So,
right.
It was a stretch. Although she pointed out on the way in that she lived in an apartment building.
Yeah.
So I don't know how close it was to this windmill.
But I think he's been, watching her from afar and thinking that wonderful relationship I had with Yolanda, she left, she started dating Julio Iglesias, and then she gets on television and now she's coming back to me, and then Yolanda pretends that, she never knew who the hell he was.
Sad.
It's really sad.
I wonder if he had a photo somewhere.
Yeah, and then they all take a photo and he goes, my wife is going to love this.
Then they're riding bikes over cobblestones, and it's a whole thing where Lisa Vanderpump is like, this is serious sexual stimulation.
Right. She's having fun.
They visit Yolanda's mom, Ans, A-N-S.
Yep.
And her brother, Leo.
Right. Yeah, and it's really sweet. They've got a bunch of cake laid out, I guess a famous Dutch cake. Yolanda looks at it and she goes, this is one of the most Dutch cakes you could ever have.
You couldn't have a more Dutch experience right now.
And then they go, we're all going to go, or am I stepping on it? They go, we're all going to get high as hell at one of these smoker, what are they called? Weed shops. Cake weed stores. And then they all ask, what's their relationship with weed? And Ons ends up saying, I've smoked a little bit I've eaten space cake before.
And I felt nothing.
Yeah.
They also reveal that at this point, just for the lore of it, Gigi Hadid has already modeled in a Chanel show.
Oh, right.
So she's well on her way because if you watched since day one, she's been making progress. And Yolanda is the almond mom for the centuries. So then Kim is like, I shan't be going to the pot shop, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Leo carries Lisa Vanderpump into the pot shop.
I know.
Basically puts her over his shoulder.
Yeah, because LVP she goes, my back hurts, darling. I'm going to need to eat medicinal weed. And I think Leo thought that as her back hurts. Let me carry her into this space cake shop. So he lifts her up.
Yeah. I also noticed when they were on the bikes, there was sort of a joke that all the bikes seemed too big for the women. Their feet didn't touch the ground. And then Yolanda's brother is tall as fuck. And obviously Yolanda's tall. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing that Dutch people are tall.
Is that a thing?
I think so.
Oh my God. I didn't know that.
They're model-esque.
Kyle, before she goes into this, she goes, doobie, weed? What do they call it nowadays in her confessional?
I understand why this whole display aggravated Brandy because no one will agree to eat. So I'm like, what year was this?
2015?
Probably.
2016?
Which I guess was a long time ago and times change, but no one will agree to even take a bite of the space cake.
Well, okay, yes. And they say, they have various reasons for it, right?
It mostly seems like they don't want to do it on camera because either they have children or like they don't want to be perceived as someone who would do something like that. And I'm just like, get a fucking grip. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and especially Kyle. Kyle is like actively faking like she has no relationship with weed.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So Lisa's the only one that's like, all right, fine, I'll fucking do it. Because, like, yeah, what does she have to lose? Her kids are old. She's, like, European. Like,
yeah. Lisa's so brave in this scene because they were about to go to this space cake store and no one was going to get high.
Not a single one.
Or eat any of it. So then when Lisa does it, she puts like a little piece of space cake in her mouth. Then that gets everybody to do it except Kyle.
Yeah. Did Brandy end up doing it?
I don't think so, and I understand. I mean,
because she didn't want to be judged.
Yeah, she goes, I need to be on my A game around this cast. But I wouldn't have done it because I wouldn't want to have a mental breakdown on camera if I got too high.
From the way they were describing it, it's like extremely low dose territory.
Right.
But Brandy says, so sick of acting like everyone doesn't smoke or whatever. And she says on camera, the last time I did was with Kyle.
Yep.
And everyone's like, bitch, like, obviously she doesn't want people to know that.
Yeah. And so where do you stand? Is Brandy just being a little bit of a fire starter in this scene by just bringing up the hypocrisy and the weed on camera when Kyle expressly did not want that?
Yeah, she's over it. Because then Kyle's like, I didn't want to say that because of my kids, Brandy. It's a parenting choice. Which, like, I feel like obviously Kyle has changed a lot in a multitude of ways since then. And now, I mean, also her kids are older now. Like, Portia's like, what, like 4 years old at this point or something. So I'm like, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't know what, like, world and what backlash she thought would occur if she ate a weed cake in Amsterdam. Like, it's like stupid, but I'm also like, I guess that's your prerogative. And Brandy knew that she was like pissing her off by being like, well, I've seen you do it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Brandy needed to do that. And for all of them, it's indicative of Brandy's like reckless behavior of just bringing shit up just to start shit that like, affects their lives. And Kyle has been down this road with Brandy, so it's like, God damn it, Brandy, why the fuck
like, we're
do you
not
always
even
do this
cool
shit?
like that. Now I hate you again.
But meanwhile, Mauricio is basically huffing like vacuum bags filled with weed probably around the house.
I feel like as of more recent years, the guise of that they took it pretty long without saying it expressly though.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that because he's like a businessman? But I'm like, in California, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, and now we know he's high as a kite all the time.
All the time.
We didn't talk about this, and this will be the old news, old as dirt. But Buying Beverly Hills got completely shuttered.
I never watched it.
It's kind of bad. I mean, it's a little bit of a flop for like the Umanskis on the Netflix the Netflix world.
Right.
I thought.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I wonder if they demanded too much cash. Netflix is cutting spending, maybe.
They are?
I don't know.
Okay.
Everyone is.
Yeah.
And this is where we get a fun Lisa moment. She goes, I lived in London in the 80s. Have I seen it all? Yes. Have I done it all? No. But I've had a little whiff occasionally.
Yeah. Of weed, right? She means?
I hope so.
God, imagine. We always talk about this, but young Lisa and Ken in London in the 80s.
Someone make that show, like Carrie Diaries.
Totally.
But Yolanda.
I was just, and I was thinking Lisa and Ken, too.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, Lisa and Ken in the 80s, the go-go 80s, the nightclubs that Ken owns.
Ugh, someone make it.
How come Lisa hasn't written a memoir yet?
I don't know. I want it. So even Eileen takes a bite, Rena takes a bite, Yolanda takes a bite.
Eileen goes, what can I say? I'm weak. And it's like, Yeah, you are kind of. She goes, and I'm weak and I succumb to peer pressure.
Yeah.
I was like, man, you didn't have to say it.
Yeah, and then Kyle's like, I think I feel a little weird even just from the atmosphere, like the contact high. And she's like, trust me, I will be paranoid. No one will enjoy it, which I believe her, actually.
Can I say something mean about Kyle for 1 second? And you
Yes.
tell me if this is too far. Kyle's a little bit of like a wet blanket in this era. Is
Yeah.
that too mean to say?
Yeah, she's like anxiety ridden like ball of nerves.
Yeah, I guess so. And maybe I'm being mean because she's dealing with like this toxic dynamic with her sister. But this is kind of the Kyle that I had to overcome this demeanor to get to the Kyle that I love now.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like that there is a reason why she was sort of renowned for being like the fun drinker party girl, because I feel like she was either like so nervous about shit or she would be like partying, which I get why she was like, now that I feel more solid on my 2 feet, I'm not going to drink anymore and I can just be like even keel, you know?
But I don't even remember the parties. I mean, like, I remember her partying and her doing splits and stuff, but even that felt very controlled for Kyle, you know?
Interesting.
Okay, all right. It is. Then what happens then? They all, they're high as kites.
Lisa to Brandy is like, you shouldn't like say shit like that. Like, you know that she didn't want you to say that. And this is where Brandy's like, everyone can say whatever the hell they want and I can't. Like, everyone thinks like I'm crazy when I say what I think, but everyone can say whatever they want about me.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're the biggest hypocrites of all fucking time. And Kyle's like, what? And then she walks away and she just goes, ah! And Kyle goes, oh, like, what is wrong with her?
Yeah. So this is, I gotta say, this is like fake of Brandy. I mean, this is very fake. It's over exaggerated. It's an overreaction. It came out of nowhere. It was already kind of just stupid when she brought up Kyle's pot smoking off camera.
Yeah.
Like, I would have given her that.
I also feel like because Kim isn't there, she has no one.
Yeah.
And then the whole conversation about like people not wanting to let loose, plus the thing that happened the night before where she feels like Rena got away with violence that she could never have gotten away with. Like, I feel like she's just like, I fucking hate you guys.
I guess she should have said that, though. Like, she should have said something about Rena or whatever. Like, this just seemed completely unprompted. I mean, you're giving her more credit than I did when I watched this by saying it's about the hypocrisy or whatever. But I just think it's like, I think that once Kim got done being the villain and they went and did windmills and met Peter Paul and then had a boring space cake thing, I think she was like, how the fuck do I turn this shit up?
Yeah.
To a new realm and start screaming out of nowhere.
Kyle's like, dude, I've tried to defend you to people. Like, you always do crazy shit. And then I think she like literally like gestures to her and Brandy goes, don't touch me.
Yeah.
And she's like, I didn't touch you. She's like doing all of this like with your hands and
Kyle
pointing.
does touch, though.
She does? What does she do?
Oh my God, don't get me started on Kyle touching. She already touched Brandy earlier this season, I remember, when Kim and Kyle were getting into it. Kyle kind of like pulled Brandy, and then with Sutton, lest we forget.
I was saying in this instance.
No, but she does. She touches. No, she did touch her here too, but Brandy was using it to her advantage by trying to negate what Kyle was saying, by saying, you touched me, don't touch me. But Kyle does like touch when she's arguing with people, she touches them, which not a lot of people want to be touched by someone. And she does it to a horrible degree with Sutton later. I'm just saying it's something she
literally had to quit drinking after that one.
I know. I'm just saying it's something that Kyle does need to work on. Brandy didn't need to overreact, but it is something that Kyle does.
Yeah. Okay, that's like the end of the second episode. Can I go pee before the third episode?
Can I tell you something?
You have to go too?
I have to piss as well, and I was going to ask you the very same thing.
Perfect.
So can we do a certified turtle piss break together? It's been almost 2 hours of you and I talking. How the hell is that possible?
I'm surprised.
Surprised that we got to 2 hours right now?
It didn't feel like 2 hours.
You and I go into a time capsule together, and I cannot believe that we just sat on a couch for 2 hours without even thinking for 1 second. So let's take a certified turtle piss break, and then we'll finish up this Amsterdam trip.
Great.
Amy,
Hey.
I have I have a question for you. Has Lisa Vanderpump been to London on camera for a trip?
Good question. They went to Paris.
Because
I remember that.
Because you said a great idea, which is young Lisa in London or whatever of her 80s. But I would watch a full Bethany Ever After type thing of just. I mean, this would be the time for Lisa to do it. Just Lisa and Ken doing a retrospective of London and talking about their haunts, where Ken used to, what bars he used to work in and stuff. Like, their association with the culture of London. I can't identify or remember any times when Lisa got to show us her London,
I don't think so. Yeah. Did you notice that in when they were talking about Pump, because there's a scene, is it? I forget. Maybe it's on the last episode of this, but it's made apparent that she is officiating gay weddings at Pump.
Oh,
and
no.
she's like, Pump is our newest baby or whatever. And she says something to the effect of, I don't think we'll be opening any more restaurants. And I was like, you will. Little do you know.
Because we have the benefit of knowing the future.
Yeah.
She opens Wolf.
Tom Tom. Pinky's Vanderpump Cocktail Garden.
Yeah. I still have, I never went to Cocktail Garden because we couldn't get in.
We should go at like a random time.
Is Pinky's in Vegas too?
Yeah, it's not open yet.
Will you go with me to Vegas in the next couple months?
I'll always go.
All right. Thank you. All right, so we're on the third episode. What was this one called? You said Amsterdam Slap?
Yeah.
One of the worst titles, right?
Doesn't make sense.
No, not at all.
So, yeah, it's the following day, Yolanda wakes up feeling like shit. The Lyme disease has taken over. She is like, it's not happening. I need to stay in bed today.
Did you remember that Lyme disease was a part of Yolanda's journey this early? I was kind of shocked.
Yeah, it's like she only has like one healthy season.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I was just like, whoa.
And then it only gets worse and worse. Like she, like here, she's still doing pretty well. But then it kind of snowballs, and like that's when she gets the breast implants removed, and it's like she's on this never-ending journey, and then she gets that condo because she like doesn't want to keep going into LA from Malibu for all of her appointments, and then she has like that like health advocate that lives there or like comes there, and then she opens the closet and there's like not to be Lisa Rena, but the only time I've ever seen a closet like that was Gypsy Rose's mom. That many meds.
Really?
She has like 400 medications.
Yolanda does?
Yeah.
And Gypsy Rose's mom.
Like put them side by side. The medical closet looks the same.
Oh my God. That's horrible. I know we've asked this before, but have you checked in on Yolanda in the year of 2024 and seen it? She's still grappling with it, but she's functioning?
She like, I think we brought this up before. She lives on a farm, and then didn't she get engaged or something?
Yeah, we'll have to.
And then she got into a fist fight with what's his name from One Direction, Zayn Malik.
Yolanda did? Oh right, yeah. I remember. Oh yeah, didn't he treat her daughter really horribly or something?
No.
Oh, he didn't?
I don't think so.
Oh, why did she punt? Why did she?
I think it was like she wouldn't leave. They had a kid. And then I think there was struggle of mom in the house kind of vibes. I'm not sure.
What are the vibes when mom's in the house?
Go away.
In 2021, you and I will research this independently. We'll come back for the next Turtle Time. But she had a huge Vogue interview in 2021 where she talked about her battle with Lyme disease, and maybe we'll get a current scoop. Or get some knowledge on where she stands today, because I do not know, unfortunately.
Yeah. I remember, and there was that whole tea about part of the big Munchausen storyline on the show was that she said that both, 2 out of 3 of her kids also had Lyme.
Yeah.
But then Muhammad Hadid said to Lisa, no, they don't.
He did?
Yeah. But then I think Bella has talked about it publicly. But I'm like, everyone in your family has Lyme disease?
She said, if I remember correctly, she said that they would just play in like tall grass, rolling around all of the Hadids.
Yeah. Well, that's like the joke is that like only wealthy people, I'm saying this in jest, don't cancel me. The joke is that like everyone gets it in the Hamptons or like from being around like horses and like the grassy beaches. So it's kind of like a disease of the 1%.
Wow. Is that the only one they have?
Maybe like gout, too much rich foods.
Because kings in sort of the 1600s, kings were the only ones that were wealthy enough to get gout.
Yeah.
Right?
Too much, what is it, like fatty foods?
I think so. I'm trying to remember the famous king that had gout. But yeah, that was, they called it rich man's foot or something. Rich man's disease. King's disease.
Oh.
They really called it that. King's
Okay.
disease.
That's tight.
It was,
I don't think you can have like shrimp
What?
gout.
You can't have shrimp if you have gout?
I think so. I just remember it being something terrible for me. Like I wouldn't want to grapple with
You've
that.
never had it?
Not that I know of. You like look down, my feet are like
I'm
I'm wearing like little clogs.
I'm looking down like, you never had it, and I see your foot clearly has gout. I don't want to look
the
it
wicked
up.
wich feet curl in.
I don't want to look it up because I hate when I look up something and I'm like, I didn't want to see that,
Yeah.
What does it look like? Is it like
I don't know.
All right.
I don't even know if it's like a visual thing. I think it's more of a pain thing.
Okay. But yeah, so I didn't know, but Yolanda said, she says, I can't even get out of bed. So
Yeah.
you guys do what thou will here today. I can't be a part of it. I can't even get up. So you all have to do your own shit in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And it leaves them scrambling.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the most boring part of the trip, which we can kind of just like gloss over.
It's true sightseeing.
The only interesting part is who decides to go with whom.
Right.
Which is when they all come down, they're sort of aimless because they don't have Yolanda as their mediator in the center. And I think, is it Brandy and Kim are together, right? Brandy and Kim are already down there. And then Lisa, Rena, and Vanderpump go up to them and they're kind of like, yeah, so what are we doing today? And Brandy and Kim are like, we're going shopping. And then they kind of, Vanderpump and Rena, because things are seemingly okay with Rena and Kim, they decide to just go on that part of the trip.
Do you think there was a pre-conversation where she was like, so should we make it our thing that we like hang out today? Or do you think it really happened in that moment?
I think it really happened in that moment.
Yeah.
The way they acted made me just think that for Rena to acknowledge that there was something wrong, she would have had to say, or like it would have been acknowledging that something is wrong if she decided to do whatever the fuck Eileen and Kyle were doing. So when she had the first plan announced to her, she's like, this is what anyone would do if they were good. They would just go on the plan that we have here. So I feel like they kind of just like, to make things appear, or for Rena to like make appearances like that things are okay with Kim, they just decided to do that activity, even though they maybe would have preferred to be with, Kyle and Eileen.
Right.
But Kyle and Eileen just got there later.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like Eileen and Kyle kind of got fucked in this because
They did.
I mean, but they also seemed to enjoy each other just fine, but it wasn't like a hoot.
No, I feel bad, and it's hard for any two people, especially Eileen and Kyle, to make fun.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
But it is funny that so when they do hang out together, they're talking about how is everyone acting okay now? Like we have no resolution or whatever. And Rena says, the reason I did want to go shopping with Kim and Brandy is because I didn't want to sit around talking with everyone about what had happened and retread.
Yeah.
And the other two, when they were alone, were just talking about the drama, which I'm like, honestly, I get that. Just like, I don't want to like rehash again and again and again when we already know the issue is not to be solved.
Yeah, I could see that too. I just felt like, I think without Yolanda, they were all kind of aimless, and LVP and Rena just decided to like go, on that activity for no good reason.
Yeah, they like go into a sex shop and like it's fine.
Eileen and Kyle just go to a museum for a second, and they're just kind of like, are these Rembrandts? You know what I
They're
mean?
like, look at these outfits.
Yeah, and then it's like they know that like this is not compelling television, so they kind of just like get out of there.
Yeah. Then after everyone's day, Eileen and Rena go for a drink at a bar because Eileen's like, I need to come to a conclusion on this. And this is where she says, I had your back. I feel like you don't have mine. And Rena's like, I can't talk to someone who's not rational regarding Kim. And she's like, trust me, I'm tortured inside. I'm in survival mode. And I just don't think it's worth getting into. And she's like, Eileen's like, the behavior was heinous. I just can't get over it.
Yeah, but is a little bit of this just that Eileen went out on a limb for Rena, and then Kim doesn't really. I mean, do you think Kim owes Eileen anything at this point? I mean, calling her a beast.
I mean, if you were truly trying to make peace with everyone, you'd be like, sorry, I fucking popped off the other night. Didn't mean to call you a beast and tell you to shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah. But what is Eileen asking of Rena here?
I think she's just like, am I insane? Or what is going on that you are just like moving on?
Yeah.
And Rena was basically like, I need to have a pleasant rest of this trip. And that's the end of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I think from the outside, without having talked about it, she's like, you're going shopping with who?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense to me. I just feel like I kept feeling, which I'm less sure of myself now, that like Eileen like doesn't know how to navigate in this world, and like if Eileen wanted to do something with Kim, she could just go talk to Kim. She kind of just wants Rena to like help her with this situation she's in, and Rena's like, I've done my part. Like I had to sit down with Kim. She came to me. I resolved it. We went to a dildo store or whatever. Eileen, I can't. Don't try to grab onto me for your storyline or whatever you're trying
Rena's
to do.
the
In this
alpha.
situation. Yeah, for sure. And Eileen's like, well, we're both new. Why can't we both do everything exactly the same? And and Rena's like, well, I'm sorry. Kim came to me. She apologized to me. She doesn't want anything to do with you.
Yeah. She's like, I'm with the big dogs.
Kind of, a little bit. That's what I felt. I felt like Eileen just kind of felt like left out in a way. But I guess that makes sense because she literally was left out.
Yeah. So now they have their dinner. That night is a canal boat. And the elephant in the room is still that everyone's just moving on without mentioning any closure. Kyle mouths to Lisa across the table, just like, everything's fine, ? And Lisa goes, it has to be.
Yeah, it has to be, darling. But I don't know if do you like that Kyle did that? Like they're all trying to just sit down and maybe they could.
I know. I'm like, Kyle, it behooves you for everyone to move on.
I know, that's what I'm like. You're a little bit of a shit stir too.
Yeah.
You mouthing to Lisa across the table from you that we're all gonna pretend this is okay. That if anybody glances over at you, it's gonna be like, Kyle, what are you doing? What are you trying to talk? You know what I mean?
She takes it to the next level and then gets up. She can't even stay in her seat, and everyone's like, "Are you okay? What are you doing?"
Yeah. It is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's very awkward, this entire dynamic that they're all at the table together.
And they're on a tiny boat.
Yeah.
And Kyle claims that Brandy keeps shooting her dirty looks. And she's like, I can't take this Stepford wife crap.
Did you see evidence of Brandy shooting her dirty looks?
I think that maybe she just like literally hates her and it was like emanating, you know? Mm-hmm. And Brandy here owns up to being a dick to Eileen.
Yes.
But says like, I can't have you talking around calling me an alcoholic, which Eileen is like, I do not recall using that word. I believe I said that you get mean when you drink. Is that like such a big deal? And Brandy's like, yeah, actually it is.
Yeah. I don't believe that Eileen called her an alcoholic,
right.
You know, and I think Eileen is just like blanketly apologizing for anything she might have said because she doesn't even like remember what she said.
Right.
She's just she has no, like, again, she has no clue what she's doing.
I'm also like, yeah, like you could get into it and be like, am I wrong in saying that you become problematic and get yourself into a lot of fucking trouble when you're on the bottle?
Yeah. And Brandy's not letting her off the hook here. I think Brandy is over exaggerating what Eileen has done, making a meal out of it, kind of just torturing Eileen a little bit.
Yeah.
Like with how much this has impacted her. And Brandy doesn't even actually know at this point who talked shit about her. She's like, it was one of you three. I don't know which one it was. And then Eileen's just like apologizing for anything she might have said.
Right. And then Kim, who already doesn't like Eileen, is like saying that she talks shit because she implied that Brandy adds fuel to the fire between the sisters,
Yep.
which is true.
Yeah, right. She does. She does.
And then the sobriety conversation comes up again. And I'm like, oh God, like, why are you even, this is, no.
I know. Seriously.
And I think this is, Lisa says, sue me for giving a damn. Or does Eileen say that?
That sounds like Eileen.
I think Eileen said, yeah, it's very, very.
Sue me for giving a damn.
Yeah. Then Brandy's trying to make a point where she goes, you know, we all have our shit, you know, like we can all be accused of something. She's like, I'm an alcoholic, problem drunk.
He goes, you know, Lisa, you know, she sleeps with everyone in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Kim taking a bunch of pills, which I was like, I can't believe Kim let Brandy say that and point at her after her reaction to everything that, you know, to what Rena said. Drinking too much to me. She goes to Yolanda. She goes, being overly bossy. And you can tell that Yolanda does not like that description of her either. She's
no one's happy with theirs.
No.
And then
awful.
she gets to Eileen and she goes, Eileen, the home wrecker. And she goes, don't fucking call me a home wrecker.
Yeah.
You weren't there. You don't know. Just stop bringing it up.
And Brandy is doing exactly what she says she's not doing. She knew leveling these horrible accusations against everyone was going to cause an uproar, and calling Eileen a homewrecker at the table was very bad. She's really Brandy bullies Eileen.
Yeah.
She bullies her.
Yeah.
She's the new cast member on the show, and like Brandy is fucking with her.
Yeah. And then it gets into, it's like Kyle versus Brandy. Who are you to come between two sisters? You say mean things all the time. And Brandy goes, vice versa, homie.
Mm-hmm. She does.
And then it turns into I don't even know what Brandy said, but then it goes to Kim or Kyle saying, I've never hit someone in my life, which I was like, what did she accuse her of?
Because Brandy was talking about the touching that Kyle does, like we were already talking about, and all Kyle was doing was like she poked her for a second. But Kyle is like, I've never hit anyone. Again, Brandy is trying to make it a bigger deal than it actually is, what Kyle did. And then at this point, if I remember correctly, Yolanda and everyone kind of are veering off, going to the table because they don't want to fight anymore. Yolanda is completely fed up with this. She wants this beautiful dinner, you know, on this boat. And then I think Lisa Vanderpump joins her, and it's like slowly all of them just get out of this fighting room that they're in and then come to the dinner.
Kim is low-key crying because now she's the one that's overwhelmed of her sister and friend fighting.
Yep.
And then Vanderpump sits next to Yolanda and goes like, I'm just like not even going to take anything Brandy says with it seriously anymore because she's more your friend than mine, and like I'll have a laugh with her on a trip, but like she's basically like, I don't fuck with her.
Yep.
And then we get to a thing where they're like, this is a great idea. Let's all say something nice about each other.
It's Brandy's idea.
Yeah.
So Brandy did two things. She did that, like, I'm going to insult everyone, like a roast comic or whatever. And then she was like, let's do this other thing I want to do, which is like, let's all give compliments to each other. And Rena was like, I thought the same thing or whatever. She like tries to take credit for that as well. But this was Brandy's idea.
Right. Which, despite it being her idea, everyone else is saying actually nice things. Like, I admire the kind of mother that you are, or like your strength and resilience and shit like that. And then Brandy will be like, Vanderpump, I think you have nice tits.
Yeah, and what are the other superficial comments she makes?
She says,
like, Eileen's got good hair. No, she says Yolanda has a great waistline.
She
waistline.
says someone has pretty eyes. Like, it's just all bullshit.
But what, like, I really don't understand this, which I guess maybe deciphering what Brandy is trying to do is like a fool's errand. But like, Kyle tries to make it like Brandy is very superficial and she has a hard time reading people, so she can only say like superficial stuff, which is like a very like wrong psychological read. But I really don't understand why Brandy is. She's like, that's all I want to give to you guys. Like, I don't want to say you all have good hearts or anything emotional because I'm mad at you all.
She has like I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's like she like acts out in a way that like to make people mad at her for attention. Like, she is like brings it upon herself and then is like, here we go again, like I'm a piece of shit, but like she like it's like almost like she knows exactly what she's doing. Like, it's weird.
And so maybe by saying like great tits and waistline or whatever, she knows that this is like also she's being provocative,
right?
And gonna get negative attention from this. And this what Brandy did, you know, she set off a very good thing here because they all get really deep besides Brandy with what they love about these people. And even Kim has moments with Kyle. Like, Kim is like, you're such a good mother, and Kyle loves it. I mean, it's like this is like all crying. She wanted. Lisa is a wonderful mother, all this like beautiful touching stuff. And then as it gets to Brandy, this is an odd reaction. Brandy doesn't want one compliment for herself. She gets up from the table, right?
Yeah, she like hides in the bathroom.
And they're all like, they want to do this for Brandy because Brandy just opened the floodgates of all these positive, nice things that they're saying about each other, and so they want Brandy to come back so they can give her compliments.
Plus, and then it just unleashes a multitude of people saying like, if you can't love yourself, like if you can't accept a compliment, it's because you can't love yourself. And I'm like, you did this to yourself. Now you have everyone like doing an analysis on you. Also, I did write down what LVP said to Kyle because I thought it was sweet. She said, if I want to go out and have fun, there's my girl. We always come back together because we have the same basic principles in life. And like Kyle starts crying, and then without Kim like jumps in as like she's like, I can't wait for what I want to say, and then Kim says her nice stuff to Kyle. Like, she just like goes right into it. Like, she almost like steals the moment. She goes, I admire the kind of mother you are. Like, she just like says it. Like, she can't be stopped.
Damn, I glossed that moment. I didn't see that.
And then Brandy says Kim is a ray of sunshine, and like she's like crying about saying nice things to Kim. But also, I need to touch on the fact that Rena says something nice to Kim, and then she goes, and I love you.
Oh, right. I
everyone was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Rena went a little overboard. She was like feeling the moment or something.
I was like, are you on like Molly?
Yeah, and she says, Kim, I love you. And then LVP makes fun of her. She was like, she's like, why the hell did Rena say she loves Kim? That's like her people pleaser insult.
Right.
Or impulse.
Yeah. And so then, Brandy is on one. She's drunk.
She really is. Yeah, she's drunk. And Kyle says Brandy can't take a compliment because I don't think she always likes herself. Then when Brandy comes back and sits, they all kind of try to give her some compliments, but she's not receptive to them at all. She wants this game to end.
Yeah.
No one can say anything nice. And then that's the end of the dinner. And this is when I would say Brandy's behavior gets even more puzzling to me.
Yeah. She starts talking about the Love Boat for some reason.
Yeah.
And she's talking about like the different cast members on the Love Boat. And she's like, so-and-so is the one that always like is kissing or something.
Julie on the Love Boat, she was like, you guys don't remember the Love Boat? You don't remember anything. And she is, I think, drunk as a skunk.
Yeah.
She was Julie on the Love Boat. She was the hot chick that kissed everyone like this. And then Brandy goes, it would be like this. And she gets in Lisa's face to kiss her. And I think Lisa is unsure of how far Brandy is going to go.
Right. Like at first she's like maybe willing to entertain a comedic something or other.
Yes.
And then when it gets real, she's like actually like, no.
Brandy is still hovering on her lips to her lips, tractor beam to her lips.
She has her hand around the back of her neck.
Yeah.
Like pulling her in.
Yes.
And she, at one point, like kind of not even playfully, it's a little much. She pushes Lisa.
Yeah.
And Lisa's like, I will slap you.
Yeah.
And then Brandy's like, slap me. Slap me. If you hit me, I'll hit you back. Like she's all like hyper and it's like becoming dangerous. We were like, no, like she's becoming incorrigible.
It's true. I mean, the behavior is really odd, and I don't know what to think of it or what to make of it. And then what provokes the slap?
Oh, she goes. Lisa goes, pick on someone your own size. Let's go, and she slaps her pretty hard. I would say like, I don't know, like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I was a little unsure if it looked hard.
Yeah.
And the way Lisa reacts, you're like,
I felt bad for her.
It's just scary.
Yeah.
To be slapped like that. It's just shocking. And, it seemed, I would say, like you said, maybe a 5 to a 6 out of 10. I wasn't sure if they added a little more of a smack noise.
Mm-hmm. I mean, regardless, it was like inappropriate.
Absolutely, in every way. I didn't know if they wanted to make it like even worse or something, but it was.
I mean, she's shocked. Like she holds her hand to her face for like a full like second or two, and is like, "Oh my god!" And then she goes, "No, that's wrong. Stop it right now. Quit while you're ahead. I don't like that."
Yes, it's like fun is over. Absolutely not. I hate it. So I think we will never know, but like what is going on in Brandy's mind here? She thinks that she entered into a playful situation that reminded her of their like fun times, and she's too drunk to read that Lisa is not reciprocating and doesn't have that same energy.
Right.
But then there's just no excuse. The lack of impulse control, which caused Brandy to also throw wine in Eileen's face, is what causes her to slap Lisa.
Wasn't that the first time she met Eileen?
I think so. It was like the second or something. She was like, "You're a soap opera actor," and I think that she was. I think that she was really jealous of Eileen.
Yeah.
Or something, or just wanted to.
Is Brandy a failed
her.
actress?
I think so. Yeah, I think
one would assume.
I think so. I think she was very threatened by Eileen, and she was like, "I'm gonna bully this person."
I didn't bring this up before, but I do think that I was getting a read on the Kim versus Eileen that Kim does have like a dark actress / career underbelly that we don't really talk about enough. Mm-hmm. And I think Eileen, she like had freshly won a daytime Emmy. Like she's been working for a really long time, and I was getting a strong tinge of like, I'm the actress here, like get the fuck out. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think Eileen came in as hot shit. And I think that she was like maybe the highest paid Beverly Hills actor at that point, because they were like, what a get for us. Which was
it's
like
exactly Andy's interest.
Yeah, and they're all like, okay, well, we're going to put you through the ringer while you're on our show. Throw glasses of wine in your face. But I guess Brandy is drunk. I guess she thinks this is playful, but then she loses control and slaps Lisa hard in the face. Yeah. Lisa's like, fun is over completely. Yeah. That was wrong.
Lisa says, that's like throwing a glass of wine in someone's face. I don't like that.
Yeah.
And then she says to someone, she goes too far with her.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the next morning. Lisa and Kyle get pancakes. You said you've been here?
Yeah, I was actually just kidding.
Oh man,
I'm sorry.
Because I want to know more about why the fuck Kyle ordered the Mexican ones that had like jalapenos on them.
Oh right.
I'm like, you live in Southern California. Why are you getting something like that there?
Right. I want to know that too. Maybe it was comforting or familiar. Familiar
kind
to
of
her.
Strange.
Yeah. But they're beautiful pancakes. I
mean, now I want pancakes. And she fills in Kyle about the slap, and she's shocked. Then on the other end, separately, Brandy is telling Yolanda, and she's like, so I like low-key slapped her, like I was just joking. And in her confessional, Yolanda goes, what do you mean you slapped Lisa Vanderpump in the face?
Yeah. Yolanda can't even fake, that this isn't a huge deal, and Brandy is really trying to gloss it over. With
it reminds me of we just watched Scary Island when Kelly recaps to the group and goes, and I called Bethany a hoe bag, and they're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it was exactly
Like
that.
there's no follow-up that could make me think that that was a good idea.
Yeah. Also, Kyle is obviously so shocked to hear Lisa say this, that Brandy, slapped
Yeah.
her. Like, she just cannot even imagine
Yeah.
how Brandy could do something like that.
Yeah. So, okay, this transitions into the final part, which we'll just cover the part that's in Amsterdam because it kind of ends.
Kind of rough for Yolanda's team, even though she's on both sides.
Yeah.
Kim started the trip, calling people beasts.
Yeah.
Provoking glass smashing, and then Brandy slaps one of her other guests in her hometown. It's like, damn, that team kind of took a hit.
Totally. And then to make matters worse, the first thing we hear about in the next episode is that Brandy, presumably, I don't know if they confirmed that they have sex, but spent the night with.
They didn't have sex.
Okay.
They made out fully. But Andre thinks when they have that date later, he thinks they might have sex, but it was just kissing.
Well, she said she was up all night with one of Max Todd's friends.
Yeah, Andre. Yep.
Which I'm like, I need more info. Like, did he go to boarding school or something that is giving boarding school? But
I wanted more information too.
Yeah. And then Brandy tries to buy Lisa flowers to apologize for the slap. And Lisa just goes, I'm not happy. Stop doing things like that. You got to think before you act. And then Lisa's telling Yolanda, like, tell your friend that, like, she needs to get her shit together. She's your asshole, not mine.
Yeah.
And then she calls Ken in her hotel room. She's, like, in a robe and pouring a cup of tea. And she's like, I'm so over it, Ken. Like, I want to get out of here. I'm sick of this. And she goes, so... we were, messing around, and then Brandy slapped me around the face. And Ken goes, she slapped you around the face?
Yeah, he was so shocked. Like, we got a full angry Ken on the other end of that phone call. He could not believe it. Also, like, I kind of forget, like, Brandy and Ken had such fun energy, and Lisa.
Oh, right.
And I forgot what made him absolutely hate Brandy at this point. But he's like, get away from her.
Yeah. She said she felt violated. Like, she keeps saying, like, I'm not saying it was a crazy, horrible act of violence. It just, like, was upsetting.
Lisa really does the best job of handling a conflict that comes to her doorstep. She had nothing to do with it. She gets physically assaulted by another cast member, and she doesn't make a meal of it. She doesn't go to town with it.
No.
She puts it in context for everyone. She talks about how she doesn't want to go overboard with it, but it was shocking to her. Like, she barely needs to justify it to anyone. It's shocking no matter, when someone slaps you, but she's like, I don't want to, like, overstate what happened to me here. Like, she's handling the whole thing well, and she's diligently telling everyone what happened.
Right.
Too.
Yeah.
So I appreciate how she handled this.
Yeah. And she tells Ken to kiss Jiggy for her. She's obviously ready to go home.
Yeah.
And then this is where Yolanda visits Brandy's room because they're all supposed to go to dinner that night. And she's like, well, everyone's pissed at you. Like, you keep fucking up with everybody.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do about it? Like, are you going to kind of like being like, you need to act different, basically. And Brandy's like, I feel like you're my mom. I'm getting scolded. And she goes, I have a date tonight anyways. I'm not going to go to dinner with what she calls in her confessional menopause mamas.
Yeah. Brandy's really immature in this scene with
Yeah.
Yolanda. Yolanda kind of calls it out too. She's like, I'd much rather go with a hot 23-year-old, than hang out with these menopause mamas or whatever. And Yolanda said that's exactly what, like, a teenager would say. Like, I'm going to have more fun doing this instead of, like, being accountable for your actions and apologizing.
Right.
And also, like, the way she's treating Yolanda is kind of shitty because Yolanda is still her ally, and accusing Yolanda of, like, acting like her mom is just such a ridiculous thing to accuse Yolanda of.
Yeah.
Just not mature at all.
Right. So she's not coming. When everyone at dinner finds out she's not coming, almost everyone is stoked, except for, obviously, Kim.
So Kim is fully out of the doghouse. Absolutely, Kim. In this moment, you know what I mean? I mean, she's able to have a productive dinner with everyone. Like, she got back in the good graces enough to just have, like, a fun dinner. Now Brandy is the one that no one wants to.
Yeah, she even narcs out Brandy for having spent the night with that guy the night before.
Yeah,
and they're like, yeah, she has a date with that young buck or whatever. And Lisa's like, not Max's friend. And they're like, yes, Max's friend. And she goes, this is going to get back to Max. And Yolanda says, Dutch boys don't kiss and tell. And Lisa says, this one will. He'll squeal like a little piglet.
Yes. That really, it brought such powerful imagery to my mind, imagining Andre squealing like a little piglet, about this encounter.
Yeah. And then,
Brandy, Brandy's sitting at the, what was this place called? It didn't look like the best restaurant I've seen.
No.
It was called like, Holland.
It was one of those like
coffee.
street cafes, but it was like empty and looked like a tourist trap.
And they give Brandy the edit of like she's been sitting here for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They didn't do the time. They should have done the, 15 minutes later or whatever.
Yeah.
But they have her like looking at the menu.
She's really reading the menu.
Yeah.
She says like, I just love experiencing this beautiful city, beautiful food, beautiful cock, which I was like, oh, like so vulgar. Meanwhile, Yolanda is saying it doesn't get more Dutch than this canal dinner. And she goes, I used to come, I think they're eating at the hotel or like outside the hotel, because she goes, I always, she's like, I've been coming here for 30 years, but I was never able to afford this place back in the day. But when I was dating Julio Iglesias, he took me here. And they're all like, damn, bitch, you're full of secrets.
Yeah. Rena goes, Yolanda's more fabulous than you even realize. All of a sudden you realize she dated Julio Iglesias all of a sudden.
Loves a musician.
Was that a name drop? Or was it just Yolanda being like fun and prideful, or not, filled with pride?
It was a name drop.
Right.
Yeah.
She was just letting us know.
Yeah.
That she dated Julio Iglesias. Iglesias, is that his name?
Iglesias. Oh my God. Okay. Then Brandy, her date comes. He looks like he's fucking 12 years old.
Yeah. It's awkward energy immediately. And this is not the win that I think Brandy wants to let the audience think it is.
No, it's like depressing.
She's showing this off like, this is what I do on my show, the Brandy spinoff. I go on dates with hot hunks from Holland.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of having fun without Brandy and giving toast.
It's like the first time they've had a good dinner. Like everyone's just like laughing and like fucking around.
The energy is awful between her and Andre.
His English seems a little bit... there's like something lost in translation. She says that she loves to make out with guys who are between 20 and 25 years old. Yeah. Otherwise, she dates men that are like 50.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have much clever to say at all.
He just says, like, which do you like more of those age groups? Also, Brandy, I think he was talking about the makeout session that they had or whatever. And she goes, to me, kissing and making out is even more intimate than the other thing. Mm-hmm. But you can tell Andre is sort of champing at the bit to possibly have sex with Brandy, I think. So all of the, like, date energy is squandered. He's not trying to be romantic with her at all or even make this a good date. It's like, how quickly can he take her up to her hotel room and have sex with her if he can? That was my read.
Yeah, and she keeps like being like, give me a kiss.
So Andre kisses her. He goes, last night was good, but tonight will be even better, so finish your drink. And
she's like, I've had 3 Chardonnays already. Meanwhile, at the other party the dinner that does seem to be fun, they're all talking about the various sex shows that they've been to. Eileen said she saw one in Rio de Janeiro. Lisa said she saw some sort of a ping pong dart situation in Thailand. And I was like, everyone around the world has seen some crazy shit.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Have you ever been to one of those?
Have not.
Me neither.
I think it's ethically questionable in our Lord's year 2024.
Is it these shows?
Like a donkey show.
Well, ethically questionable. Which one of these? LVP saw darts out of a cucamonga, she said. Right. And then you're right. Brandy, we're going back and forth between a sort of like potentially fun dinner. I mean, I don't know how fun it was.
Fun enough.
Fun enough. And then Brandy's kind of like horrible drunken date with Andre.
Yeah. And Yolanda gives a toast. she just says like, thank you all so much for coming here. And she includes Brandy in the toast, even though she's not there. And all of a sudden, it shows like Lisa at like Villa Blanca or something. And I was like, oh, I guess we're home.
Yeah, it just ends in the middle of the episode, like 15 minutes into the episode, the Amsterdam trip is over. It doesn't show them getting back or anything.
Yeah. And then the only thing I'll say to wrap it out is like one of the scenes back in LA is Brandy getting a facial with Yolanda, who's getting a vitamin drip, and Brandy's in a bad way. Her dad is sick. She says she's crying, saying everyone else gets away with murder. Like she's still like kind of like emotionally depleted from the trip and like where she stands with people.
Right.
So
yeah, so that's the Amsterdam trip. I think we dissected the shit out of it.
Yeah,
what do you think now that we've had time to really revel in it?
It is fun. I feel like it's probably, if we like continue watching with like the Munchausen stuff, this is a good like Rena base camp of like her first entree into like getting into people's business. But it does make me want to like, I'm trying to remember if, because I'm trying to remember what the first instance of Yolanda being sick was. Because remember, there's that lunch or dinner that she shows up to with like no makeup on, and Ken is like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, he's horrified by how she appeared at dinner. I totally remember that. Yeah, I think it was good. I think it had some ebbs and flows. Like the museum, all the Amsterdam shit was pretty boring and bad. All of the like what could have been fun. So it just had this like really strong, horrible conflict, and then Brandy's conflict is very artificial and just self-imposed, like kind of shitty. I don't know what the fuck she was doing. Yeah. So it kind of peaks, goes through some valleys. I did like the resolution dinner that we talked about, where the compliments that they were all handing out, it gave the trip some, resonance. Yeah. But yeah, overall, kind of a hodgepodge mess, a little bit of a trip.
Yeah. But it did give me a little taste for like wanting to watch the before and the after. Okay. Also the reunion. I want to see, because there's only, I think the one that we covered just the beginning of is the last one of the season. Or no, there's one more.
Oh, really? There is?
There's one more episode, then reunion.
And this is Brandy's last season.
Is that true?
Yeah. She goes out in season 5. I looked it up.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
I know. I'll double check, but I am almost positive when I looked it up that Brandy, after the wine and slapping Lisa, it's not salvageable anymore.
Interesting.
For Brandy. I know her impact on Beverly Hills is so strong for being on from season 2 as a friend of to season 5.
Yeah. Well, now I will watch the reunion. I want to see how it ends. But
what do you think? I mean, as we sign off, I don't know if these Turtle Time trips are going to be, if Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs absolutely hate them, we'll never do it again. But is there any other trips that bubble up in your mind as like being the most iconic? Like maybe Little Turtle Cuties can weigh in if there's any trips that you and I can cover, like the like upper echelon top 5 trips, because I feel like Scary Island is definitely there. And after watching Amsterdam, I'm like, I don't know if this would make it in the top 5 trips I've ever seen.
Right. What's the one? Where do they go when Erica Jane says, "You don't know what I go through at night"?
Is that China?
Like Singapore?
Yeah. I think that might be fun. I always talk about the Horse Whisperer Jersey season. I think it's really underrated when they all go to Miraval. I think that's a beautiful trip. But if there's any trips,
also Cartagena.
Oh yeah. It's like it would be. We keep having to go to like Roni trips, which are just like always iconic. But if there's any, trips that you want to vouch for that Amy and I might not remember, we'll do that on
Bolo, wherever they were for that.
Oh yeah, that's a good trip as well. But we hope you like this. I'm on paternity leave. That's why you're listening to Turtle Time Trip. So I hope that that's okay. And hopefully we'll be back with a topical, traditional episode of Turtle Time next week.
Yeah. But we'll come up with, I don't know, we're always coming up with some evergreen fun options.
Yeah, there might be some. Well, if you like this episode of Turtle Time, if you liked anything about it, please, it really helps us to review or rate this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We just got 2 beautiful reviews come in while we were recording. 2 5-star reviews, which we absolutely love. We read each of them to each other, and we kind of just bask in the glory of them. And then also, if you need even more, Amy and I have a Patreon, the Turtle Time Patreon, where you can become a Villa Rosa VIP. And we've been recapping Vanderpump Rules since the very beginning, the start of season 1, episode 1. And we're already like season 5, episode 6.
Yeah.
Or something. So
Yeah.
there's over 75 episodes that you can go back and listen to for $5 a month.
It's totally worth it, I swear.
It's worth it. All right. Well, this is a 2-hour and 38-minute episode of Turtle Time. Amy and I are going to go to sleep, and we'll see you back next week. Thank you all so much.
Bye.
Bye.
This one's for you tonight.